Chapter 295. In the video, Wang Debao made a silent gesture to Yang Zi and nervously said, "Lower your voice, that crack, there seems to be something crawling out from the crack." "Husband, woo-woo, you should go home quickly." Yang Zi nervously shouted. "This crack is too big, I can't go over." "You guys wait at home, someone call the police, they will come over immediately." Just as Wang Debao finished speaking, the ground suddenly shook, followed by the sound of pots and pans falling on the ground, and the crying of women and children. The video changed, there really was a sticky thing crawling out from the crack. Wang Zhong stared at the crack in the video. The sticky thing was about the size of an arm and looked a bit like a snake. But its crawling speed was not fast, so there was a difference between it and a snake. "Husband, what is this thing?" Yang Zi nervously asked the video. "I don't know, but it doesn't seem right." At this time, the video was facing the crack, and the sticky thing finally crawled out. A little girl was crying on the side, completely unaware of the approaching danger. "Daughter, daughter." The little girl's mother finally recovered from her shock. Only then did she realize that her daughter had unknowingly appeared beside the crack. She hurriedly ran over. But it was too late. A huge creature thicker than a snake suddenly opened its mouth and swallowed the little girl whole. The scene was too scary, all the people hiding on the side screamed. The screams seemed to have attracted these monsters. More and more monsters crawled out from the crack. Some of them were extremely huge, and they raised their huge heads and crawled towards the opposite side of the community. "These monsters are coming, run, run." In the video, the place where Wang Debao was hiding was in a mess. At this time, Wang Debao couldn't calm down even if he wanted to. He shouted to Yang Zi in the video, "Wife, stay at home. Come back quickly." Wang Debao nodded and ran out with the crowd. The video began to shake, but at this time, the necks of the monsters in the distance bulged, and then one by one they spat out black mucus. Puff, puff, puff. Countless mucus sprayed towards the crowd, followed by a burst of screams. "Ah, my leg. Why can't I walk? What is this?" At this moment, Wang Debao was in the middle of the crowd. His body was inevitably sprayed with the black mucus. Immediately, his legs felt as if they were stuck with high-strength glue, and he could not move at all. "Husband, what's wrong with you?" Yang Zi looked at the video and shouted anxiously. "Dad, run. Hurry up and run." Wang Zhong also shouted anxiously. In the video, Wang Debao was holding his phone with one hand and taking off his clothes with the other, trying to wipe off the mucus on the ground. However, the moment his clothes came into contact with the mucus, he was stuck and couldn't move at all. "Save me, save me." In the video, the person who was stuck screamed in horror. At the same time, the monsters behind them were slowly crawling towards them. Although they were not fast, the people who were stuck to them could not move at all. If this continued, these people would sooner or later be swallowed whole like the little girl. Beep, beep, beep. Fortunately, at this moment, the sound of sirens could be heard from afar. Police cars came running over in time. Fire. The police immediately fired at the group of monsters. The bullets pierced through the monsters' bodies, but they only left holes. These monsters were not damaged at all and continued running. Some of the people who were stuck were quickly swallowed one by one. Wang Debao looked at the monster behind him and trembled. He looked at his wife and son on the phone and cried, "Wife, I'm afraid I can't get past this. You have to take good care of our son." "Hubby, run, run." Yang Zi cried desperately. The big insect behind Wang Debao was getting closer and closer. Even though the police kept shooting, the bullets had no effect on these big bugs. Finally, the huge insect behind Wang Debao opened its huge mouth. With a poochie, Wang Debao's upper body was swallowed whole. Woo woo woo. Yang Zi couldn't bear to watch anymore. Her phone fell to the ground. Wang Zhong's expression turned ugly. Unexpectedly, despite all the precautions he had taken, his father was still one step ahead of him. Because the phone was not turned off, although the screen was still, the sound from the other side could still be heard. After the police found that they couldn't deal with these monsters, military helicopters quickly flew over. Finally, the military found that although these monsters were not afraid of bullets, they were afraid of fire. So the police and military fired incendiary bombs at these monsters, which burned more than half of these monsters to death. The rest of the monsters hid back in the crack. This battle didn't end until the next day. Early in the morning of the next day, Wang Zhong and Yang Zi were taken away by the police. Police comrade, what are those monsters? Sitting in the police car, Yang Zi asked while crying. To be honest, we don't know. The police side, the higher-ups said that the area you live in has become a monster-infested area, so you have to leave. Did these places appear all over the world? Wang Zhong asked. The police glanced at Wang Zhong in the rearview mirror and nodded, yes. But why didn't this information be announced to the public so that the people can be on guard? Wang Zhong was very puzzled. The police looked surprised. He didn't think that this child would know so much. After thinking for a while, he replied, first of all, the areas where monsters appear are not many, most of them are remote areas. Secondly, once this information is spread out, do you know what the consequences will be? Society will be in turmoil, people will panic and not produce, rush to buy food, financial collapse, sometimes social unrest is more harmful than monsters, do you know? Wang Zhong nodded his head. He couldn't help but think of the past. Due to some epidemics, any news would cause people to panic at the slightest sound. For example, there was a rumor that iodized salt could prevent nuclear pollution, so people rushed to buy salt. Many people had been eating salt for 10 years and still hadn't run out. At that time, there were people on the internet who sometimes joked, let me tell you a piece of good news, my family finally ran out of salt. There were too many examples like this. People were the same. Although monsters appeared in this world, in order to not create more chaos, they chose to hide it. Then what are we going to do in the future? Yang Zi couldn't help but ask. For now, you will stay in the hotel arranged by the government. Okay. Now that Yang Zi didn't have a better idea, she could only agree. Chapter 296. After staying in the hotel for a few days, when Wang Zhong watched TV again, he found out that there was an earthquake in the community where they lived. Unknown creatures appeared under the ground and more than 40 people died. Although this incident was reported, the news didn't talk about the monsters in detail. However, there were still a lot of things circulating on the internet. It can be seen that the situation has developed to this point. The higher-ups didn't want to completely suppress the news. Instead, they adopted the method of gradually letting the public know. Originally, Wang Zhong thought that although his father died, he and his mother relied on the property left by his father and they could still live well. Using the money he could prepare at this time. But he didn't expect that from this day on, his family began to decline. First was his father's company. Because Wang Debao died, Wang Debao's shares were divided by his two partners. In the end, only a shell company with debts of more than 10 million was left to Yang Zi. When Yang Zi found out that the situation was wrong, it was already too late. The court summons came, someone sued them for debts of more than 10 million. When Yang Zi went to the company, she found that the company had no money and still owed more than 10 million. Several high-quality projects were transferred to other companies at a low price. After that, the employees asked for money, the creditors forced Yang Zi, and their Wang family finally declared bankruptcy. At this point, Yang Zi took Wang Zhong to live in a small house left by her mother's family. Son, Mom is sorry. Late at night, Yang Zi looked at Wang Debao's portrait and cried, Mom, it's okay, I'm not afraid of hardship. Wang Zhong said seriously, My good son. Although the days after were difficult, Wang Zhong was not worried. In the future, when doomsday comes, it's not about money, but about who can survive in the doomsday. So what if you have money? In the face of these monsters, you will die very quickly. Soon, Wang Zhong was 14 years old. This year, he also smoothly entered the local junior high school. I know that the family's life may be difficult, but isn't this too difficult? Looking at the salted vegetables and steamed buns on the table, which added up to less than 5 yuan for dinner, Wang Zhong was speechless. He was still growing. For the past year or so, their family only had steamed buns for breakfast, salted vegetables and white rice for lunch, and salted vegetables and steamed buns for dinner. There was no meat or fish at all, so his mouth was bland. "Mom, what happened to all the gold and silver jewelry that Dad used to buy for you?" Wang Zhong asked as he looked at his mother, who had lost a lot of weight. "Sigh, your mother doesn't know how to work. All these years, I've pawned all those gold and silver jewelry. All of them." Wang Zhong took a bite of the steamed bun and said unhappily, "If I really can't do it, I'll do something part-time these few days." "How can that be?" "Son, you're still in school." "But we don't have any money." Wang Zhong sighed. He didn't expect that instead of encountering a monster, he would starve to death. In fact, Wang Zhong also knew that his mother had been working very hard these days. She went to many places to find a job. However, she was used to being a young mistress and was not suitable for working. In the end, she was repeatedly fired, and their family was in such dire straits. "If we really can't do it, let's sell this place." Yang Zi looked at their home. "But if we sell it, where will we live?" Wang Zhong was speechless. As the two were discussing, suddenly, there was a noise outside, followed by the sound of a car crashing. "What's wrong?" Wang Zhong immediately ran to the window. The scene in front of him made him completely stunned. The originally pitch-black sky suddenly became bright. In the sky, there seemed to be a huge crack. This crack was incomparably huge, like a giant's eye. On the other side of the crack, countless lights flashed, like small suns, illuminating the entire night sky. These lights were too dazzling. On the street, in the room, on the rooftop, everyone was shocked at the scene in front of them. "Is the apocalypse coming?" Wang Zhong whispered. "Son, you said this is the apocalypse?" Wang Zhong did not answer, because the bright objects in front of him were like fireworks, shooting in all directions. In the end, what was going on? Looking at the situation, these lights were not monsters. One by one, the lights scattered all over the place. At the same time, black cracks appeared on the ground. Wang Zhong noticed that many cracks had appeared on the ground beneath the building they lived in. Although it was already dark, he could still vaguely see strange creatures crawling out from the cracks. The apocalypse is really coming. The monsters crawling out of the cracks began to attack the surrounding people. The street was full of screaming people. Ding-ling-ling. At this time, a text message was sent to their mobile phone. Wang Zhong quickly looked at it. The text message was sent by the government. The meaning was very simple, that is, there was a change in the sky, and there were many beasts and monsters on the ground. Now the residents were asked to close their doors and windows and wait for rescue. Ding-ling-ling. At this time, another text message was sent. Wang Zhong looked at it again, and suddenly his face changed. It was written in the information that an unknown gas had suddenly appeared in some areas. Some people would develop rashes on their bodies after inhaling the gas. Their skin would itch and they would cough. Finally, their bodies would mutate and become rabies. They would bite people. The message was vague, saying that after discovering these symptoms, they must isolate themselves and avoid contact with other people. But Wang Zhong still saw that something was wrong. Rabies symptoms, biting people, isn't this a zombie? Mask, yes, protect yourself first. Wang Zhong made a prompt decision and ran to the bathroom to get a towel. Without a mask, he first used a towel. "Son, why do I have rashes on my body? It's so itchy." After looking at the text message, Yang Zi scratched the rashes on her body and frowned. "I can't have rabies as mentioned in the text message, right?" Wang Zhong was also stunned at this time. His mother's face was full of red rashes. "Mom, are you okay?" Wang Zhong wanted to get closer to his mother, but Yang Zi suddenly waved her hand and quickly shouted, "Son, don't come over." "Mom." At this moment, Wang Zhong felt at a loss for the first time, and also felt the difficulty of this mission. Although he already knew that there would be a disaster, but in the end, it still ended up like this. His father died tragically in the mouth of a monster, then the family fell, and at the time of the disaster, his mother was infected by the virus. "Son." At this moment, Yang Zi also calmed down, smiled at Wang Zhong, and slowly stepped back. Son, I must have been infected by the virus. According to the symptoms, I will bite people. From now on, you stay away from me. While speaking, Yang Zi went into her house alone. Son, there are still a lot of buns at home. Don't go out these days, you have to live well. Chapter 297. Wang Zhong himself didn't expect that this time, the separation with his mother would be forever. In just more than half an hour, the sound of someone knocking on the door came from Yang Zi's room. Wang Zhong thought about it but still didn't open the door. Instead, he looked at the news on his phone and turned on the TV to watch the content of the disaster. Everyone, please pay attention. If you see these black cracks, you must stay away from them. There will be monsters coming out from them. The virus is transmitted through the air, but not everyone will be infected. According to scientists, people without antibodies will be infected and the symptoms will be exactly the same as rabies. Please pay attention, this disease is more manic than rabies. It's exactly the same as the symptoms of zombies in the movies. The police here appeal to the residents, if you see a sick person, it is recommended to kill them on the spot. Because according to the police records, once a normal person is bitten by a sick person, they will also be infected with the virus. Wang Zhong skimmed through the news, one by one. Only now did he understand the severity of the situation. Not only are there monsters in the cracks, but there is also an unknown virus in the air. Once people without antibodies are infected, they will become zombies. Wang Zhong couldn't help but look at his mother's room. Mom. Bang. At this time, there was an explosion from downstairs. Wang Zhong immediately rushed to the window and saw that the 2 cars below had already been set ablaze. However, the problem was that there were a few people who weren't afraid of the fire. They were walking unsteadily beside the cars and eating something. Zombies. Wang Zhong's eyes narrowed. After weighing the pros and cons, he is only 14 years old. He may be able to deal with 2 or 3 zombies, but if there are more of them, he will not be their opponent. Dong dong dong. There was still a burst of knocking sound from his mother's room, which made Wang Zhong upset, but he can't open the door. Although he knows that this world is a game, he still felt uncomfortable. Finally, the next day, more and more people turned into zombies, and more black cracks appeared. Many people risked their lives to rush out of their homes, went to the supermarket and some small shops, and began to rob. 3 days later, Wang Zhong finally saw tanks and armored vehicles on the street outside the community. The army is finally here. Seeing this scene, the people in the neighborhood cheered. After waiting for so long, the rescue team finally arrived. Are you here to save us? Someone in the building shouted to the rescue team on the street. Listen up. On one of the tanks, a man who looked like a soldier held a loudspeaker and shouted, Listen up, we're from Disaster Rescue Team 2. We've been ordered by our superiors to clean up the monsters. Those of you who have been soldiers, doctors, maintenance workers, and scientists can come and take a ride. The rest of you, stay inside and don't go out. Hearing this voice, everyone was in an uproar. What? Why can't we leave? We're humans too. Why can't we leave? A group of hooligans who usually lived nearby were not happy. They all rushed out of their homes with weapons, wanting the army to take them away. After the first person went out, more and more people came out of the house. I don't have anything to eat at home. Please take us away. A woman with a child cried. My wife is sick and needs to see a doctor. Your truck is so big. It's big enough for us. Take us away. I have a family to take care of. The crowd squeezed toward the army. Seeing this scene, Wang Zhong's heart moved. He picked up the kitchen knife at home and was ready to go downstairs. He had no choice. Compared to living alone, of course, he had to follow the leader to survive. However, before he left, Wang Zhong heard his mother knocking on the door. Mom, your son is leaving. With a sigh, Wang Zhong walked to the door and knocked on it. Woo! The monster's whimper came from behind the door. There was no doubt that his mother had become a zombie. Wang Zhong knelt on the ground and kowtowed 3 times. Then he found a bag and put the few steamed buns in it. Then he took some clothes and ran downstairs. Although the monsters were very fierce last night, Wang Zhong's floor didn't encounter any trouble. As Wang Zhong walked downstairs, many people stuck their heads out to look around as they packed up their luggage and prepared to head downstairs. "Young man, are you alone? Where's your mother?" An old woman came out with her son and asked curiously. Wang Zhong knew this old woman. She was called Old Madam Sunday. Usually, she helped their family a lot, so Wang Zhong had a good impression of her. Wang Zhong sighed and said, "My mother is sick." Sigh. Old Madam's son certainly knew what the so-called sick meant. "We are also going down. Let's go together," Old Madam's son said. Her son looked to be in his 30s. He was wearing a mask and carrying 2 big boxes in his hands. "Let's go downstairs. If we are late, it will be troublesome if the truck can't fit people." "Well, let's go." Wang Zhong thought that he was only 14 years old. If he could go with the adults, they could take care of each other. The 3 of them went downstairs. At this moment, many people in their community had rushed down. "Sir, take us. You have 3 big trucks. We can definitely get on," someone shouted. "But the order is that only doctors, scientists, maintenance workers are allowed to pick up." It could be seen that this person who looked like a commanding officer was also an indecisive person. Their convoy was surrounded by the crowd, and he was still explaining. In such a short time, a lot of time had been wasted. I'm a doctor." At this time, a person raised his hand and squeezed over with his wife and child. "Okay, come up. Where are we going later?" "To the base." "Don't worry, it's very safe there." "Thank you." The rest of the people were unhappy when they saw this scene. "Why? Let him go, but we can't. What's so great about being a doctor?" "I'm a scientist." "Let me go." "Yes, let us go." The crowd was instantly angry. They were worried that the soldiers would shoot. Because there were more and more people, they no longer cared about anything and rushed to the trucks. "You can't squeeze. There are so many of you. We can't squeeze in." The soldiers shouted with all their might, but it was useless in the face of the tide of people. "Let's squeeze in too," Old Madam Sun's son said to Wang Zhong. Wang Zhong frowned. It was not that he didn't want to go, but there were too many people. With so many people, not to mention 3 trucks, even if there were 3 more, he was afraid that they wouldn't be able to leave. "We can't squeeze. Everyone, go back, go back." The soldiers on the tanks shouted with all their might. However, no one listened to him. Soon, the 3 trucks were full of people. Chapter 298. Wang Zhong, old lady's son, and her son did not even have time to squeeze through before they were pushed out by the crowd. "Oh, are these people crazy?" Old lady's son was so anxious that she stomped her feet. "Get in the car, the monsters are coming." Just then, people in the building behind them screamed in horror. Wang Zhong hurriedly looked over and was instantly stunned. A black crack suddenly appeared at the exit of the building behind them. Bats about the size of a human flew out from it. These bats were huge. After seeing the countless people, these bats drooled and then let out ear-piercing screeches as they flew into the air. Caw! Countless bats flew out of the crack and flew toward the crowd. When the bats got closer, Wang Zhong noticed that there were 2 huge claws under the bats. These 2 huge claws suddenly grabbed a person who was running away in a panic, and then took him flying into the sky. "Save me, save me!" The person who was caught screamed helplessly, but it was useless. "Everyone, go home, go home. The rest of you, aim at the bats and shoot." The soldiers on the tanks shouted into their walkie-talkies. Only then did the army organize to resist. Da-da-da. Rapid bullets were fired at the group of bats. These bats were not as strong as the slimy snake-like monster from before. They were very afraid of bullets. Once they were hit, these bats could not fly and could only flop on the ground. Although many bats were killed, there were too many bats coming out of the crack. Even if many bats were shot to the ground, their hunting instinct made them attack the people around them. A bat was hit next to Wang Zhong. Old lady's son wanted to pull her son away, but the bat's claws had already grabbed her thigh. Huang, run. Old lady's son pushed her son away. Mom. Old lady's son's son did not want to run. He cried and pulled his mother, wanting to take her away. At this moment, Wang Zhong was next to them. He gritted his teeth, pulled out the kitchen knife on his back, and slashed at the bat's claws that were grabbing old lady's son's thigh. Poochie. The knife only went halfway into the bat's claws before it could not cut any further. So hard. Wang Zhong's eyes narrowed. Although the bat's claws weren't cut off, the bat still felt great pain. After roaring at the sky, it exerted force with its claws. Gotcha! Old lady's son screamed and fell to the ground. Her thigh had been crushed by the claws, and blood instantly flowed out. The bat didn't stop after its attack. It turned its head to look at Wang Zhong. Wang Zhong's hair instantly stood on end. This was a kind of alertness towards danger. Run! Wang Zhong quickly retreated as the bat limped towards him. Mom! Old Madam Sun's son carried old Madam Sun and wanted to leave, but a bat had already rushed over. It easily picked up the two of them and flew out of the sky. Perhaps because the bat was too heavy, old lady's son and her son fell from the sky after flying for more than 20 meters. The two of them were instantly smashed into meat paste, dying a miserable death. Wang Zhong swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Even though he had experienced countless worlds, the scene in front of him was too disgusting. It still made his stomach churn, and he felt like vomiting. No, there are too many bats here. I have to hide in the house. Wang Zhong turned and ran towards his own building. Bats flew around him one after another, and the people around him were getting fewer and fewer. At this moment, a bat seemed to be aiming at him. It flew towards him like a falcon. Squawk! The bat sound was very ear-piercing. Because it was close, Wang Zhong immediately noticed that something was wrong behind him. Although Wang Zhong didn't have any supernatural powers in this world, he still had his battle instincts. Therefore, he subconsciously fell to the ground. Swoosh! A bat flew over his head and hit the wall of the building in front of him. That was close. Looking at the dead bat, Wang Zhong secretly thought about it from another perspective. If he had been the one to take the hit, his small body would have been crippled. When he was only 5 or 6 meters away from the building, Wang Zhong began to speed up. Unexpectedly, at this moment, a burly man rushed towards him. Get lost! The burly man knocked Wang Zhong away and knocked a girl to the ground. The difference in strength caused Wang Zhong to fall to the ground without any warning. However, it didn't mean that he wouldn't fight back. He grabbed a brick beside him and threw it at the burly man. F*CK, who hit me? The burly man was hit so hard that the back of his head was bleeding. When he turned his head, he saw Wang Zhong staring at him. Little bastard, you're the one who hit me. The burly man widened his eyes. According to his character in the past, he would have slapped Wang Zhong. However, he soon noticed the endless swarm of bats in the sky. After weighing the pros and cons, he didn't dare to stay outside any longer. Glaring fiercely at Wang Zhong, he scolded, "Just you wait." After saying that, the burly man turned around and ran towards the building. However, he didn't expect that at this moment, 2 huge bats would suddenly land at the entrance of the building. The burly man was so scared that he didn't dare to move. The 2 bats looked at the burly man with great interest. They seemed to be very interested in his flesh. They opened their huge mouths and pounced on the burly man while drooling. Seeing that the bats were about to rush over, the burly man suddenly turned his head and looked at Wang Zhong. He wanted to push Wang Zhong over. Wang Zhong immediately knew what the burly man wanted to do. He quickly turned around and ran. "You're fast." The burly man didn't succeed. He scolded and ran towards the girl he had pushed to the ground. The girl had a ponytail and looked weak. She was also wearing a pair of glasses. Obviously, she was very nearsighted. The fall just now seemed to have hurt her a lot. She didn't get up for a long time. Get over there. The burly man didn't have any pity for the fairer sex. He grabbed the ponytail girl's ponytail and walked towards the two bats. It hurts. The ponytailed girl cried out in pain. The burly man shouted at the two bats, "Come, eat, eat." As he spoke, he quietly retreated. When the bats ate the girl, he would take a detour and enter the building. As long as he entered the building, he could hide in a room without any worries and wait for the bats to leave. The two bats indeed walked towards the girl. The burly man arched his body and was ready to escape at any time. However, at this moment, he suddenly felt a chill in his stomach. Then, a warm liquid flowed out. All the strength in his body seemed to have been sucked out in an instant. He couldn't stand still. Puffed. At this moment, he felt a knife being pulled out of his stomach without him knowing. F***CK. The burly man scolded and quickly turned around. At the same time, he threw a punch with all his strength. The person who stabbed him didn't expect that the burly man still had the strength to resist. He was caught off guard and was instantly hit in the arm. This person was Wang Zhong. He had seen the opportunity before. He knew that even if the burly man didn't die, the burly man would definitely deal with him after entering the building. Therefore, Wang Zhong decided to strike first. However, he didn't expect that this person still had the strength to hit him. Suddenly, Wang Zhong was in so much pain that he clenched his teeth. He felt a chill in his heart because he felt that his arm seemed to have been broken. Mother****. Wang Zhong quickly retreated. His right arm, which was used to stab the burly man, drooped down weakly. He was in so much pain that he almost trembled. Chapter 299. Pain. So painful. So painful. Tearing pain. He had experienced many worlds and fought with many people, but it was the first time he encountered such a serious injury. His right arm was broken in one hit. It would be fine if it was peacetime, but now it was the end of the world, so it was troublesome. Fortunately, the strong man was also stabbed. When Wang Zhong stabbed him, he aimed at the man's kidney, so he knew that this man would not last long. "Damn, you dare to stab me!" The strong man stared at Wang Zhong, his hand covering the wound, and looked at him fiercely. "I advise you not to move. If you move, you will die faster." As Wang Zhong spoke, he looked at his surroundings. The bats were not there for the time being. The only two bats that were a threat were walking towards the girl with glasses. Now, as long as the strong man fell, he could enter the building smoothly. Then he slowly went around the strong man. Although the strong man was not convinced and wanted to rush over to hit Wang Zhong. However, due to the excessive blood loss, the strong man's body became weaker and weaker. Soon, he was half kneeling on the ground. His face was pale. "Am I going to die?" The strong man was scared and shouted at Wang Zhong, "I was wrong, save me, save me. You are on your own." After confirming that this man was not a threat, Wang Zhong quickened his pace. "Ga." A bat in front of the bespectacled girl noticed the approaching Wang Zhong and screeched at him. The girl with glasses was crying weakly. Her myopia seemed to be very serious. The two bats were very close to her, but she did not run away. She just kept reaching out with her hands. Wang Zhong frowned. A bat was not easy to fool, it had already noticed him. He looked at the strong man, who had fallen down weakly. With a thought, he hurriedly walked over and pulled out the knife from his body. The strong man opened his eyes in pain. "Save me." Naturally, Wang Zhong ignored him. Holding onto the knife, he threw it at one of the bats. "Come on, come on." The bat was angered and flew towards Wang Zhong. Wang Zhong quickly hid beside the trash can. After the bat landed, it stepped on the strong man. The strong man screamed. The sound seemed to attract the bat, so the bat began to attack the strong man. After attracting the bat, Wang Zhong ran towards the building. At this time, the other bat was very close to the girl with glasses, but what surprised Wang Zhong was that the girl with glasses did not move, and the bat did not move. It was like the bat was myopia. If it did not make a sound, it would not find the girl with glasses. Seeing this scene, Wang Zhong's heart moved. Yes, how could I forget? Bats were creatures that relied on sound to fly and hunt. Their eyes could not see anything at all. The bespectacled girl was short-sighted, so she didn't move at all. Instead, she saved his life. As for the others who were yelling and screaming, they became targets for the bats to attack. In that case, Wang Zhong made a decision in his heart. He quietly walked towards the girl with glasses, patted her shoulder and whispered, "Don't make a sound, follow me." Originally, he did not want to save her. After all, he was only 14 years old. At this age, he was not yet fully developed. If he could not protect himself, how could he save someone? But now, it was different. After finding the pattern of the bat's attack, Wang Zhong was no longer afraid. Besides, saving the girl with glasses, Wang Zhong also hoped that they could help each other in the future. After all, he had lost an arm, and it would be inconvenient for him to live alone in the future. The girl with glasses reacted and trembled. "Woo, I have high myopia, what should I do now?" The girl with glasses did not know that she should speak softly. With just 2 sentences, the bat at the entrance of the corridor was attracted. "Caw!" The bat cried in their direction. Wang Zhong's face changed. If this continued, it would not be good. "Keep your voice down." Wang Zhong quickly covered the girl with glasses' mouth with his left hand. "This thing uses sound to catch people, understand?" "Woo." The girl with glasses nodded while crying. Wang Zhong then pulled her, quietly bypassed the bat, and rushed into the corridor. After entering the corridor, Wang Zhong sat on the ground. At this moment, he realized that his body was already soaked in cold sweat. "Let's go upstairs, to my room first." Wang Zhong endured the pain of his broken arm and said. After entering the room, Wang Zhong immediately closed the door and windows. After confirming that the room was safe, he went to the window and looked downstairs. At this time, the people downstairs were either dead or had fled. There were no survivors. Only the military vehicles were still parked on the side of the road, shooting at the bats. But even so, in the face of the huge flying army, many soldiers who were exposed outside the vehicles were carried out by the bats, and then fell heavily to the ground. "Retreat, retreat." After receiving the order to retreat from the higher-ups, a few tanks decisively left with the people in the trucks. They left. Hearing the gunshots downstairs disappear, the girl with glasses trembled and asked, "Yes, what's your name? Where's your family?" Wang Zhong asked. Hearing this, the girl with glasses lowered her head. "My name is Anai Xiaoqin. My parents went to work yesterday and didn't come back." Saying this, she reached out her hand in confusion and said, "Do you have glasses? I'm very short-sighted. Without glasses, I can't see clearly." "My mom has them." Wang Zhong thought for a while. His mom was also short-sighted, she had a pair of glasses. "However, my mother has already been infected," continued Wang Zhong. "Ah." The girl with glasses' eyes turned red, and she sobbed. "The knocking sound in the room, was it her?" "Yes, I locked her in the room." Wang Zhong sat on the sofa and said, "My name is Wang Yan. When I was running just now, my right arm was broken. Find a place to sit." "Then what should we do?" "You should go to the hospital." Anai Xiaoqin said anxiously. "How can I go to the hospital at this time?" Wang Zhong shook his head. He wanted to take off his clothes and deal with his broken arm. But once he tore his right arm, Wang Zhong grimaced in pain. "Anai Xiaoqin, help me take off my clothes." Wang Zhong said. "But I can't see clearly." Anai Xiaoqin walked over and tried to open her eyes, but she could only see a blurry shadow. Seeing Anai Xiaoqin like this, Wang Zhong was speechless. She was simply blind. He didn't feel at ease letting her help him. What if she aggravated the injury? After thinking about it, he decided to rely on himself. Enduring the pain, Wang Zhong found a pair of scissors and cut off the sleeve of his right arm. Then, he took off the sleeve of his left arm. After taking off his jacket, he started to cut off the t-shirt underneath. Finally, the clothes on his broken arm were all cut off. But looking at his injury, Wang Zhong frowned. The injury was too serious. His entire arm was already swollen because of the fracture. Chapter 300. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Seeing such a wound, Wang Zhong sucked in a breath of cold air. It hurts. Wang Zhong whispered as he recalled what little medical knowledge he had in the past. The first thing he had to do was to fix his hand. However, he only had one hand now, so it was not easy for him to do that. Therefore, he looked at Enai Xiaoqin. Enai Xiaoqin, can you see my hand clearly? Wang Zhong asked as he panted. I can't see clearly. Enai Xiaoqin reached out to touch Wang Zhong's hand, but she touched the wrong place. How about this? I'll hold your hand later, and you can help me tie a knot. Wang Zhong took a step back and said. Okay. Enai Xiaoqin felt sour in her heart. The little brother in front of her had saved her life, but she could not help him at all. Then, Wang Zhong felt the place where his fracture was. The fracture was about 5 to 6 centimeters above his wrist. Fortunately, the fracture was not in the curved part, or the injury would not be healed so easily. Then, he went to the kitchen and found 10 chopsticks, and placed them on both ends of the fracture. Then, he put 3 cloth strips under it. Just like that, there was only one last step left, which was to tie the knot. Give me your hand, Wang Zhong said. Enai Xiaoqin extended her delicate hands over, and Wang Zhong asked her to grab the 2 ends of a piece of cloth. Then he said, tie the knot. Be gentle. Stop when I say stop. Okay. Enai Xiaoqin nodded and began to tie the knot. The rope went through and then slowly tightened. The chopsticks on both ends of his arm were slowly tightened, and Wang Zhong could feel the pain on his wrist getting stronger and stronger. However, he had no choice. He had to endure it at this time. He grabbed a towel, bit it tightly, and said to Enai Xiaoqin in a muffled voice, use a little more strength, make it firm. Okay. Enai Xiaoqin also felt that Wang Zhong was desperately holding on, so she was even more careful when she tied it. Finally, a knot was tied. Such a small task made Enai Xiaoqin sweat profusely. How is it? It's okay. Tie the second knot. Enai Xiaoqin nodded and continued to tie the knot. With the previous experience, Enai Xiaoqin's movements were much faster this time. Soon, all 3 knots were tied. Wang Zhong tried to move his arm and nodded with satisfaction. Not bad, it doesn't hurt as much as before. Wang Yan, do you have anything to eat at home? At this moment, Enai Xiaoqin rubbed her stomach and embarrassedly said, I woke up in a hurry and didn't eat breakfast. There are a few steamed buns. Wang Zhong took out his steamed buns from the inside of his jacket and went to the kitchen to take out the lao gan ma. Just make do with it. Is this what your family usually eats? Enai Xiaoqin asked in disbelief. Wang Zhong was embarrassed and nodded. My family's condition isn't good. Okay. Enai Xiaoqin had no other choice. She took a bowl of water and made do with the food. Wang Zhong was also chewing on a steamed bun. As he ate, he thought about what to do next. First of all, his arm was broken, so he couldn't go to crowded places for a while. Moreover, it wasn't necessarily safe outside. Therefore, the first thing to do was to find a way to survive. Food was an indispensable part of life. Wang Zhong couldn't help but look at his mother Yang Zi's room. After his mother turned into a zombie, Wang Zhong originally didn't want to open the room. But now there was no other way. His arm was injured and he couldn't move. Enai Xiaoqin was blind, so he had to enter the room and get his mother's glasses. At least, he had to let Enai Xiaoqin see first. This way, the two of them could find a way to survive in the future. After drinking a bowl of water and chewing on a steamed bun, Wang Zhong explained the current situation. This is the situation. If you want to live, you have to have the ability to move. So you have to enter my mother's room and get the glasses. Wang Zhong stared at Enai Xiaoqin and said, Ni Xiaoqin was immediately scared. She fearfully looked at Yongzi's room. Zombies, I heard they eat people. I know, but there is no other way. Wang Zhong expressionlessly said. But I saw a few zombies biting people downstairs. What if I get bitten? What should I do? After all, Ni Xiaoqin had just experienced the apocalypse. How could she dare to face zombies? In fact, even if an adult who had watched a lot of zombie movies said they weren't afraid, when they really experienced this scene, they would probably be scared. Wang Zhong wasn't surprised by Ni Xiaoqin's reaction. In fact, he was also a little scared. But in the apocalypse, there was always a first time for everything. This time, even if he had to bite the bullet, he had to do it. Listen, first of all, my family doesn't have much to eat. At most, it can only support us for 2 days. So we have to go downstairs to find food. Do you think you can go downstairs like this? I'm afraid that even if a zombie runs in front of you, you won't be able to see it. Wang Zhong's words made Ni Xiaoqin ponder. Wang Zhong continued, in addition, Ni Xiaoqin, if we want to live, sooner or later we will have to face all kinds of zombies and monsters. So don't be afraid. Okay then. Ni Xiaoqin pondered for a moment and finally nodded. Wang Zhong took out 2 fruit knives from the kitchen. After thinking for a moment, he didn't give Ni Xiaoqin one. After all, this girl was blind. What if she randomly cut with a knife? So he handed Ni Xiaoqin a chair and said, I'll open the door later. If you feel a shadow in front of you, take the chair and push it against the wall. After that, I'll do it. But that's your mother. Can you do it? Ni Xiaoqin asked with some worry. Even if I can't do it, I have to do it. Wang Zhong sighed. Ni Xiaoqin nodded, took the chair and pointed it at the room where Yongzi was locked up. Wang Zhong's right arm was currently tied up and couldn't move at all. So he put the knife in his left hand. He came to the door and carefully twisted the handle. Dong 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 dong. The knocking sound in the room had never been heard before. Wang Zhong was a little distressed. How could his mother be so unlucky to be infected by the virus? Why was he okay? He shook his head to get rid of the painful memories in his mind. Then, he pushed the door open. Because the door was suddenly pushed open, Yongzi suddenly fell to the ground. Seeing Yongzi's appearance, Wang Zhong sucked in a breath of cold air. Now, Yongzi's face was rotten, and her neck was scratched with a bloody hole. The blood on her clothes had already dried, making Yongzi look incomparably terrifying. Yongzi struggled to get up. Wang Zhong saw the opportunity and stepped on Yongzi's neck. What should I do? Ni Xiaoqin completely lost her backbone at this time. She didn't know what to do. Fortunately, the situation was smoother than Wang Zhong imagined. After stepping on Yongzi, Yongzi couldn't move anymore. She could only wave her hands. Wang Zhong held the knife and sighed, "Rest in peace." Chapter 301. Yongzi let out a beast-like roar. In the next moment, Wang Zhong decisively took the knife and stabbed her temple. Puchi! Yongzi immediately stopped moving. Phew! Wang Zhong sat on the ground and looked at his mother's body. He sighed and said to Ni Xiaoqin, who was still holding the stool, "Put it down, the zombie is dead." My condolences. Ni Xiaoqin didn't know what to say and could only stand at the door. Wang Zhong didn't say much. He took out a glasses case from the bedside table and handed it to Ni Xiaoqin. "This is the glasses my mother used to wear. Try it on." "Thank you." Ni Xiaoqin took the glasses and put it on. The degree didn't match, but it was better than nothing. At least she could see some big things clearly. "I can see clearly now." Ni Xiaoqin glanced at Wang Zhong and then looked at the body on the ground. She stepped back in fear. "This is your mother? How did she become like this?" "After being infected, the skin will rot. The rotten part will feel very itchy, so she scratched her neck. My parents didn't come back last night. Did they become like this too? Ni Xiaoqin sadly lowered her head and cried. Although Wang Zhong didn't want to say it, he still said, "Don't cry. Help me put the body on the bed. If the body isn't dealt with for a long time, we can't live here anymore." Okay. Then, Ni Xiaoqin put the body on the bed, rolled it up with a quilt and put it on the wall. Wang Zhong took out all the useful things in the room and closed the door. Now we need to search for supplies. In addition to food, we also need water and medicine. Wang Zhong began to plan. Although Ni Xiaoqin was only 16 years old, she wasn't stupid. She knew that they were facing a difficult situation. She didn't have the strength to truss a chicken. Wang Zhong was seriously injured. If they wanted to live, supplies were the key. As for water, there's no hurry. The water in my water dispenser is enough for us to drink for more than a month. The key is food. Wang Zhong thought about it and thought of old lady Sunday. Old Madam Sun's family lived downstairs. In the past, she and her son relied on each other for survival. Now that they were both dead, he could think of a way to enter their house and get some food. So Wang Zhong explained the plan and said, "Let's go downstairs and get some food." Okay. Ni Xiaoqin basically listened to Wang Zhong now. Then, the two of them picked up their weapons and tiptoed downstairs. When they arrived at old Madam Sun's house, perhaps because they were in a hurry, the door wasn't locked. The two entered the house and searched around. Soon, Wang Zhong found 2 jars of pickled vegetables, a box of pickled radishes, 3 salted fish and 2 dried cabbages hanging on the balcony. Old Lady Sun has stored quite a lot of food. Wang Zhong was delighted to see this. "I'll move it up now." Ni Xiaoqin found a woven bag from the kitchen and was about to put the food. However, Wang Zhong stopped her. "Wang Yan, what are you doing?" Ni Xiaoqin was puzzled. Wang Zhong said, "This is where old Madam Sun and her son lived. I saw them die with my own eyes. We'll live here from today onwards." "Live here?" "Yes. First, I'm too lazy to move the food. Second, my mother died in the house after all. It won't take long for her to rot. The smell will definitely be unpleasant. Third, this is the 5th floor. It's closer to the ground floor. If something happens, we can go downstairs immediately. What do you think?" After listening to Wang Zhong's explanation, Ni Xiaoqin also felt that this was a good idea. "Well, let's live here. It just so happens that the gas stove here is a liquefied bottle. We can also cook and eat." Ni Xiaoqin nodded. After the two finished discussing, they began to pack up. First, they asked Ni Xiaoqin to go upstairs to get the quilt, bucket, and some of Wang Zhong's clothes. As for Wang Zhong, he checked the doors and windows of old Madam Sun's house. The windows in her house had anti-theft windows, greatly increasing the security. There was also an anti-theft door at the door. At least, they didn't have to worry about monsters breaking in the middle of the night. After a whole day of packing, Ni Xiaoqin finally moved the useful things from Wang Zhong's house down. Okay, next is to prepare some weapons. We'll go downstairs tomorrow. Wang Zhong picked up a kitchen knife. After thinking for a while, he picked up a large fruit knife from old Madam Sun's kitchen. "We'll go downstairs tomorrow. Those bats haven't left yet." Ni Xiaoqin was a little worried. "My arm is injured. It's already swollen. I need anti-inflammatory medicine. I just looked around here, but there's no medicine that I need. Then we'll have to go to the pharmacy. There are 2 pharmacies across the neighborhood." As Ni Xiaoqin had lived here for many years, she knew where the pharmacies were. Wang Zhong nodded and looked out the window. At this moment, the sky was gradually darkening. The streets that used to be lively were now empty. There were only a few unknown monsters wandering around. Wang Zhong noticed that these monsters were more active at night than during the day. This meant that these monsters had the same habits as ordinary animals. They liked to hunt at night. At this time, a few lights not far from the neighborhood caught his attention. Those lights flew out from the cracks in the sky last night. At that time, the lights scattered everywhere. Originally, Wang Zhong thought that these lights were emitted by some strange creatures. However, after a day, he realized that was not the case. These lights weren't living creatures, because they hadn't moved since they landed. What could this thing be? While he was thinking, Ni Xiaoqin had already started cooking and was ready to eat. First, she took a salted fish from the windowsill, washed it, and put it into the pot. Then, she sprinkled some water and salted vegetables, preparing to make salted vegetables and salted fish soup. This was not to say that it would be delicious. She felt that Wang Zhong was injured and needed to drink some soup to nourish his body. The dishes are ready. Ni Xiaoqin brought the salted vegetables and salted fish soup and placed it on the table. Wang Zhong frowned and glanced at the dish. It felt like a dark cuisine. Make do with it. I wanted to cook pork ribs or chicken soup for you, but we don't have any at home, Ni Xiaoqin said awkwardly. Sigh, it's enough to eat some meat. Wang Zhong sighed and drank a mouthful of soup. Although the taste was a little salty, the fragrance was delicious. At this time, if there was a big bowl of white rice, he could definitely eat 2 bowls. It was a pity that even white rice was considered a luxury. Wang Zhong and Ni Xiaoqin each had a steamed bun. They ate it while drinking the salted vegetables and salted fish soup. After eating for a while, Wang Zhong found that Ni Xiaoqin only drank the soup. She didn't touch the salted vegetables or fish. Soon, she finished the steamed bun and drank a bowl of water. Why aren't you eating? Wang Zhong couldn't help but ask. Chapter 302. Why aren't you eating? Wang Zhong couldn't help but ask. Ni Xiaoqin said awkwardly, You're injured. You should eat more to nourish your body. This girl really thinks a lot. Wang Zhong couldn't help but have a good impression of her. Under such difficult circumstances, Ni Xiaoqin was still considerate of him. In this post-apocalyptic world, this kind of person was a rare companion. You should eat more too. There are so many residents in this building. We can search for other people later. There won't be a lack of food. Wang Zhong said. I'm full. Ni Xiaoqin waved her hand. Just eat. If you're hungry and can't defeat the monster, what will you do? Eat. Wang Zhong said as he cut the salted fish in half and gave Ni Xiaoqin the tail. He drank a few mouthfuls of soup and then began to bite the fish head. Ni Xiaoqin only ate a few mouthfuls of fish. At this time, the house was already dark. Last night, there was a power outage in this neighborhood. Therefore, after Wang Zhong and Ni Xiaoqin finished eating, they prepared to go to bed early. Wang Yan, you go to bed. I've already tidied up here. Ni Xiaoqin said obediently. Okay then. Wang Zhong didn't argue. He nodded slightly and went to bed. At this time, they didn't want to take a shower before bed. Not only was there a power outage, even the water was cut off. It could be said that water was one less portion. Now that his arm was injured, Wang Zhong knew that the most important thing now was to rest. His injuries would recover the fastest when he was sleeping. The night passed peacefully. Ni Xiaoqin slept in the house next door. Early in the morning, when the sun had just risen, Wang Zhong heard the sound of cooking coming from the kitchen. Wang Zhong couldn't sleep now. He got up and looked at his broken arm. His broken arm was swollen like a thigh. If he moved slightly, he would feel a needle-like pain from the broken arm. Fortunately, Wang Zhong was no longer a 14-year-old boy, so the pain was still within his tolerance range. However, he also knew that he had to take some anti-inflammatory medicine. It was best to put on an anti-inflammatory drip. Only in this way could the swollen area slowly shrink and the injury recover quickly. He got off the bed and went to the bathroom to pee. Now, he no longer peed in the toilet. After all, there was no water. Instead, he peed directly into a basin in the bathroom. After he was done, he just poured it downstairs. Anyway, no one would complain about it now. The current situation was that the entire society was paralyzed. Unfortunately, there were no televisions or radios, and the internet had long been cut off. They had no way of knowing what was happening in the outside world. However, according to Wang Zhong's understanding of the movies he had watched in the past, if monsters appeared alone, the country might be able to organize some resistance. But the problem was that zombies had also appeared. No matter how strong an organization was, once zombies appeared in groups, it would bring about disastrous consequences. Therefore, Wang Zhong estimated that the situation was not very optimistic. After coming out of the toilet, Wang Zhong sniffed and smelled the smell of porridge. He went to the kitchen and saw Ni Xiaoqin cooking porridge. "Wang Zhong, you're awake." Ni Xiaoqin turned her head and glanced at Wang Zhong. "Yeah, you woke up quite early," Wang Zhong said. "I usually go to school this early. I'm already used to it." Ni Xiaoqin smiled sweetly. "I cooked some porridge. It's nutritious. You can eat it later. Is the injury on your hand better?" "It's okay." Wang Zhong helped to take the chopsticks and walked out. Soon, Ni Xiaoqin brought over a bowl of porridge and a piece of pickled vegetable. "Eat." Ni Xiaoqin also sat down. Wang Zhong nodded and asked, "The rice here, how long can we eat for?" "About a month. If we eat sparingly, there won't be any vegetables." "I'm fine, but you're injured. If you don't eat something good to nourish yourself, your injury won't heal so easily," Ni Xiaoqin explained. "Yeah, I just looked outside the window. It's daytime now. Those monsters seem to be hiding. Okay, let's eat. Let's go downstairs." Ni Xiaoqin nodded. "You're not afraid?" Wang Zhong looked at this obviously immature girl with some surprise. He couldn't figure out where her courage came from. "Of course I'm afraid. But you're my savior. Now that you're in trouble, how can I leave you in the lurch?" Ni Xiaoqin said seriously. Wang Zhong thought to himself, "I didn't save you for nothing." Of course, Wang Zhong still said, "I'm doing this for everyone. While there are still many supplies outside, let's stock up." "Okay, I understand." The two of them began to eat. After eating, Wang Zhong took out a fruit knife and a large one in his left hand and started to go out. Ni Xiaoqin was also ready to go. In order to prevent her glasses from falling, she tied a string to the frame of her glasses and firmly tied it to her head. This way, even if she ran with all her might, she wouldn't have to worry about her glasses falling. She also had a fruit knife on her waist. This was their only third fruit knife, and she had taken all of them out. Ni Xiaoqin held a long iron pipe in her hand. This iron pipe was originally used as a drying rack in Old Lady Sun's house. Wang Zhong thought it was very useful, so he let Ni Xiaoqin carry it. "Okay, follow me later and act according to the situation," Wang Zhong said to the back and started to go downstairs. There was nothing wrong in the corridor, but when they came out of the corridor, the ground was covered with the corpses of the people who died here yesterday and some bats. Ni Xiaoqin was obviously very scared. She nervously walked beside Wang Zhong. Wang Zhong looked around, and after he didn't discover anything, he cautiously walked out. First, he came to the security office. There were no security guards here, but there was a large pool of blood at the door. He went in to search and found half a box of instant noodles. This was an unexpected surprise. Wang Zhong hid the instant noodles in the garden next to the security office to prevent people from coming in and taking away the instant noodles. Then he and Ni Xiaoqin came to the road. The originally clean road was now a mess. There were several monster feces on the ground. There were no zombies here. Because yesterday when the army came here, the remaining zombies were cleaned up. Wang Zhong saw with his own eyes that some bats took away the zombies that were left alone. So it was quite quiet here. Wang Zhong looked at a Caicong pharmacy not far away and whispered, "Run there. If you find anything, tell me." Ni Xiaoqin was very cautious now. She bowed and nodded. The two began to set off. There were several cars parked in front of the pharmacy, but they were all crashed. Just as he was about to rush into the pharmacy, Wang Zhong suddenly stopped. Because he found that at the pharmacy door, there was a large pool of black twisting things. Looking carefully, these twisting things seemed to be large maggots. "Why are these maggots so big?" Ni Xiaoqin also found something wrong. Chapter 303. Wang Zhong quickly hid behind the car opposite the pharmacy and pulled Ni Xiaoqin to hide as well. Then, he carefully observed the black puddle of stuff. Wang Zhong became more and more shocked as he looked at it. Previously, Wang Zhong did not notice the situation as the car blocked his view. Now that he was closer, these worms really looked like maggots. However, real maggots were white, but these maggots were black. Countless black maggots were squeezed together and seemed to be coming out. Wang Zhong frowned. At this rate, these maggots would soon occupy the entrance of the pharmacy and it would be troublesome to go in. Rush in, take out the medicine and run. Wang Zhong turned to Ni Xiaoqin and said. Ni Xiaoqin resisted the urge to vomit and said, "It's so disgusting." "Please," Wang Zhong said. Ni Xiaoqin also knew that this was a serious matter. Even if she felt disgusted, she could only force herself to do it. After all, Wang Zhong's arm injury only needed to be nursed back to health. Normally, it would need to be disinfected. Otherwise, once inflammation developed in the later stages, Wang Zhong would have a fever or a cold. In serious cases, he might even die. The two of them crept towards the pharmacy. This pharmacy had 2 doors. The doors were wide open, but there was no one inside. The black pile of maggots was in the middle of the 2 doors. When Wang Zhong got closer, he realized that there was a narrow crack in the middle of the pile of maggots. At this moment, countless black maggots were crawling out. "Wang Yan, there seems to be a dead person among these maggots," Ni Xiaoqin suddenly said. Wang Zhong looked closely. Indeed, there was a corpse wearing a white coat at the side of the crack. Looking at the long hair, the corpse should be a woman. He did not know what happened, but she was unlucky enough to die in the maggots. "Don't worry about that. Let's talk inside." After Wang Zhong finished speaking, he was already prepared to rush into the pharmacy. Although Ni Xiaoqin was a girl, she was not slow. She quickly jumped up the stairs and entered the pharmacy. The two of them finally entered the pharmacy. They took out the luggage they had prepared beforehand and put the medicine into the bag without even looking. "Wang Yan, here's some glucose and saline for anti-inflammatory." Ni Xiaoqin opened a cabinet and inside were bags of medicine for intravenous drips. Wang Zhong was overjoyed. "Pack them all up and bring them back." "All right." Ni Xiaoqin began to move, but at this time, the insects at the door began to crawl into the house like cats that smelled fish. Dozens of insects crawled in one after another, which made Wang Zhong vigilant. Can you save me?" Just then, a bedroom door opened in the back room of the pharmacy. Wang Zhong hurriedly turned around, only to see a bespectacled pot-bellied man in a white coat walk out. Having lived here for so long, Wang Zhong recognized this person. He was the owner of this pharmacy, Dr. Chen. "I'm injured, so I came to find medicine," Wang Zhong said to Dr. Chen. "Where are you staying now? Do you have anything to eat?" Dr. Chen asked nervously. "Yesterday, a bunch of insects appeared at the door. My staff wanted to go out, but they were blocked by the insects." "But we didn't encounter any obstacles when we came in?" Wang Zhong asked. "I'm not sure. When my staff went out, they were blocked by the insects." She used a bamboo pole to pry the insects away. Unexpectedly, the insects' bodies broke and a lot of sulfuric acid splashed out. Sulfuric acid. Wang Zhong raised his eyebrows and looked at the insects that were getting closer and closer to them. "These insects must have smelled the smell on you and came in." Dr. Chen swallowed his saliva. "Let's go quickly, or we'll all die here." "But I need medicine. My arm is injured," Wang Zhong said. "Bastard, it's all your fault. You brought the insects here. You should leave." Dr. Chen became nervous. There were more and more insects coming in, leaving only a small gap. In fact, he had considered escaping before, but there were too many insects at the door last night, and there were many other monsters outside, so he delayed until this time. But he didn't expect that two people would come in carelessly and attract the insects. Wang Zhong glanced behind him and frowned. It's not too late for you to escape now. But, Dr. Chen looked at the countless insects and became timid. Wang Zhong picked up Enai Xiaoqin's long iron rod and tried to touch an insect not far away. As soon as he touched it, the insect seemed to be squeezed. Its whole body began to curl up, and its stomach began to gradually expand. It's going to explode, it's going to explode. Dr. Chen's face changed greatly. He quickly turned back and rushed into his bedroom. Wang Zhong also felt that something was wrong. To be safe, he hid behind the counter with Enai Xiaoqin. Then, he saw the insect's body was getting bigger and bigger, and soon it swelled into a small ball. Bang! The insect's body shattered, and the liquid inside splashed everywhere. Wang Zhong looked at it. The longest distance the liquid splashed was actually 4 meters. Fortunately, he and Enai Xiaoqin hid behind the counter in the first place, otherwise, their lives would be in danger. Zizizi. At this moment, the places where the liquid splashed, the sulfuric acid in the insect's body began to corrode those places, emitting a thick burnt smell. They had to leave here quickly. Wang Zhong looked at the insects slowly crawling in not far away and frowned. There were too many insects. Once they occupied this room, it would be impossible for them to leave. Enai Xiaoqin, let's go immediately. Wang Zhong immediately made a decision. Let's go together. At this time, Dr. Chen rushed out. Wang Zhong glanced at him. To be honest, he didn't have a good impression of this Dr. Chen. He was timid and afraid of trouble, and the first thing he did when something happened was to run away. Because of them, the insects were attracted to them. If something happened, this person was absolutely unreliable. But at this time, it was impossible to drive him away. Not to mention whether they could drive him away or not, the key point was that they didn't have the right to do so. So he could only nod, "You can follow, but don't drag us down." Don't worry. Dr. Chen nodded with sweat all over his head. Wang Zhong walked out of the counter. Enai Xiaoqin was carrying a luggage bag with a lot of medicine inside. This luggage bag didn't look light, but Enai Xiaoqin didn't complain when she carried it on her small body. There were more and more insects at the door. Wang Zhong walked to the right side. There were relatively fewer insects here. There were only 3 of them at the door. These insects seemed to explode when touched. I'll blow up these insects first, and then rush out. Wang Zhong said. This is too risky, right? Dr. Chen was a little worried. Then do you have any ideas? Behind those 3 insects, dozens of insects are crawling over. If you don't take the risk and leave now, are you waiting to starve to death in your room? Wang Zhong asked. Chapter 304. Dr. Chen was embarrassed and could only nod in agreement. Okay then. With that, he suddenly thought of something and quickly picked up a raincoat hanging on the wall and put it on himself. With this raincoat, even if he was hit by some sulfuric acid, he wouldn't be afraid for a short time. Wang Zhong glanced around and noticed a white coat, which should be the former employee's. After taking it off, he handed it to Enai Xiaoqin and said, "Put it on." Enai Xiaoqin felt warm in her heart and asked, "What about you?" "I have a lot of clothes." With that, Wang Zhong took off his coat and put it on his head. Looking around, Wang Zhong kicked the glass on the counter, and suddenly the glass fragments fell to the ground. Aiming at the target, Wang Zhong picked up the glass fragments and threw them at the 3 insects blocking the way. In an instant, the 3 insects' bodies swelled up. Bang bang bang! The 3 insects exploded, and the sulfuric acid scattered on the ground. Fortunately, there were only 3 insects, and the scattered sulfuric acid was not very dense. Run! Wang Zhong just finished speaking, but he didn't expect Dr. Chen to rush out like an arrow. At this time, Dr. Chen's attitude was fully reflected in his actions. Because at this time, whoever runs first, even if the insect explodes, but the insect explosion has a 2-second interval, even if it explodes, the first person to run will not be hurt. But the people behind are different. That's why Dr. Chen was the first to run away. For him, there were only advantages and no disadvantages. Sure enough, after running out, the two insects closest to him began to swell, and one of them was particularly fat. Wang Zhong saw that the situation was not good, and quickly pulled Ni Shaoqin to escape. Ah! At this time, the particularly fat insect suddenly exploded. The power of the explosion this time was much greater than that of the little bug from before. The impact of the explosion was more than 10 meters away. Because Dr. Chen was the first to run out, he was the closest, so his back was splashed with sulfuric acid. The thin raincoat could not withstand so much concentrated sulfuric acid, and soon the raincoat was corroded. Suddenly, Dr. Chen screamed and fell to the ground. Back off! Wang Zhong's expression changed, and threw the raincoat to the door. The clothes he threw out blocked some of the sulfuric acid, but a small part of it still splashed over. Bzzz. Immediately, Wang Zhong felt smoke rising from his clothes. As for Ni Shaoqin, she was fine because she was far away. But when he realized that something was wrong, he hurriedly threw the white coat over. Wang Zhong continued to throw the white coat behind him before hiding behind the counter with Ni Shaoqin. As soon as he entered, Wang Zhong suddenly felt a sharp pain in his right arm. It turned out that he was too anxious just now and accidentally touched the wound on his right arm. Hiss hiss hiss. Taking a deep breath and enduring the pain, Wang Zhong hurriedly said, "My clothes are stained with corrosive liquid. Help me tear them off." "Oh, okay." Ni Shaoqin was incoherent as she nodded her head. Pulling open Wang Zhong's clothes, he found that 3 holes had been corroded. Fortunately, it was only the debris that had been splashed, so it wasn't a big deal. But for safety's sake, Ni Shaoqin still found a pair of scissors and helped Wang Zhong cut off those pieces of clothes. While Ni Shaoqin was working, Wang Zhong glanced at the insects at the door. After the explosion just now, the group of insects became restless and began to wander around. The door was already crowded. "We can't run out." Wang Zhong looked at the room where Dr. Chen came out and said, "Let's go there." "Okay." The two entered the room and Wang Zhong closed the door. He frowned as he looked at the insects outside through the crack of the door. "There are insects outside. We can't get out." Ni Shaoqin glanced at the room behind her. This was the pharmacy's office. In addition to some cabinets with medicine, there was also a big desk and a bucket of drinking water. There was a window at the back of the room, but there was a stainless steel anti-theft window outside. It was probably because of the anti-theft window that Dr. Chen didn't escape. "Save me, save me." Dr. Chen at the door was still alive, but because his back and legs were stained with sulfuric acid, he couldn't stand up because of the pain. He could only crawl like an insect. These insects seemed to have the ability to find their prey. When Dr. Chen ran to the road, some of the insects quickly crawled towards him. He was dead. Wang Zhong didn't pay attention to Dr. Chen anymore. He looked at the insects in the room and thought of a solution. Ni Shaoqin thought of the anti-theft window. She opened the window and picked up a chair in the room to smash the anti-theft window. As long as the anti-theft window was broken, they would have a chance to leave. No need to smash it. But at this time, Wang Zhong stopped Ni Shaoqin. "Wang Yan, if we don't smash it now, what if the insects get close and corrode the door? Even if we don't come in, there is no food here. We will starve to death." Although she felt that Wang Zhong's words were wrong, Ni Shaoqin still stopped. That doctor was blocked at the door yesterday. If he could smash it open, he would have done so already. "Then what do we do now?" Ni Shaoqin said dejectedly. "I have an idea." Wang Zhong looked at the insects outside the door and scanned the room. "Let these insects make a chain explosion." Then, Wang Zhong explained the plan. The plan was simple. That was to destroy the insects by throwing out the debris in the room. These insects would explode once they were touched. Then they would let them explode. When they were almost done, they would go out. The plan began to be carried out. Wang Zhong opened the door. Ni Shaoqin tore open the books on the table and crumpled them into a ball. Then, she and Wang Zhong threw it out. Suddenly, the insects outside the room began to explode. Wang Zhong noticed that the more insects exploded, the more the splashed sulfuric acid would explode when it came into contact with the other insects. It was like a self-mutilating organism. About an hour later, the insects outside the room were almost all gone. Only the occasional insect would crawl out from the crack. Although the insects were gone, there was a pool of sulfuric acid on the ground. If he stepped on it, his legs would be gone. Oh no, what should we do now? Ni Shaoqin also noticed that something was wrong. She had a headache. Let's continue to smash the window. Wang Zhong shook his head. I have an idea. He pointed at the water dispenser bucket. There is still a lot of water in this bucket. The water can neutralize the sulfuric acid and reduce the corrosion. But, will it work? Ni Shaoqin was worried. Dr. Chen's body was still at the door. She did not know if the plan would work. Remove the word will. It will definitely work. But I can only use one hand. You pour the water. As for me, Wang Zhong looked at the chair. Use that. Chapter 305. Time ticked by. 20 minutes had passed since Wang Zhong had started to explain his plan. Using this time, Wang Zhong asked Ni Shaoqin to break the stool and get a wooden board. You walk in front and sprinkle the water. Wang Zhong said. Okay. Ni Shaoqin opened the door and dragged the water dispenser bucket forward. She could not lift the bucket and could only drag it. Fortunately, there were no more worms here, only a large pool of sulfuric acid on the floor. The sulfuric acid had already corroded the cabinets and walls, and the room was filled with a rotten smell. Without Wang Zhong's order, Ni Shaoqin pushed the water dispenser bucket over. Immediately, the water splashed forward. The sulfuric acid in the room was diluted, and Wang Zhong threw a rag over. Sure enough, the rate of corrosion slowed down. Let's go. Wang Zhong nodded at Ni Shaoqin and glanced at his feet. To prevent their shoes from being corroded, he and Ni Shaoqin used the bandage at the bottom of their shoes and wrapped a wooden board at the bottom. Their shoes were not afraid of corrosion for a short period of time. Wang Zhong walked out. Although the sulfuric acid on the floor was diluted, there was still a sizzling sound coming from the bottom of their shoes. Wang Zhong quickened his steps. Fortunately, there were no more worms on the floor, and they did not have to worry about the sulfuric acid from the worm's explosion. The two of them used all their strength and finally reached the door. They were only 5 meters away from leaving the sulfuric acid area. At this moment, Wang Zhong suddenly felt his shoes loosen. It turned out that the bandage at the bottom of his shoes was finally corroded, and the wooden board at the bottom of his shoes was left in place. Ni Shaoqin was the same, and said nervously, Wang Yan, don't worry, I will bring you out. Wang Zhong took a deep breath and threw out the wooden board that he had prepared earlier. The wooden board landed in the middle of the sulfuric acid, and he jumped out of it. Pa! Wang Zhong landed on the wooden board, and his body was a little unstable. To maintain his balance, Wang Zhong quickened his steps and jumped out of the sulfuric acid area. Come here. Wang Zhong turned around and said. Ni Shaoqin nodded. She had a backpack on her back that was filled with medicine. Catch. Ni Shaoqin flung her backpack to the ground. Wang Zhong pulled the backpack away and nodded at Ni Shaoqin. Jump onto the plank and come over. Ni Shaoqin leaped onto the wooden plank. However, she lost her balance and accidentally stepped on the sulfuric acid with her left foot. The sulfuric acid in this area was not diluted yet, so when Ni Shaoqin stepped on it, her shoes emitted an unpleasant burnt smell. If the corrosion continued, Ni Shaoqin's leg would be crippled. Jump over here and take off your shoes, quick. Wang Zhong shouted anxiously. Ni Shaoqin was so anxious that she was about to cry. In the face of life and death, she also burst out with a powerful speed and quickly jumped over. After walking a few steps, Ni Shaoqin quickly took off her shoes. The soles of his shoes had already become a thin layer. Fortunately, he took them off quickly. Otherwise, the soles of his feet would have come into contact with the sulfuric acid. Ni Shaoqin felt a wave of lingering fear. With a wah sound, she actually burst into tears. It's fine now. Wang Zhong helped Ni Shaoqin up with one hand. Woo-woo. Ni Shaoqin immediately hugged Wang Zhong and cried. To be honest, it was quite painful to be hugged like this. However, Wang Zhong could only endure it at this moment so that Ni Shaoqin could calm down. It's fine now, let's quickly leave this place. Wang Zhong comforted. Let's go. Ni Shaoqin felt that Wang Zhong's body seemed to be twitching because of the pain, so she quickly moved away and asked, I'm sorry, you must have been in a lot of pain just now, right? It's good that you're fine. Wang Zhong comforted. Ni Shaoqin embarrassedly said, then let's go now. Wang Zhong glanced at the pile of insects not far away. In just a short while, a few more insects crawled out from the black crack. He believed that it would not be long before more insects appeared in this place. Wang Yan, what are you looking at? Seeing that Wang Zhong was not leaving, Ni Shaoqin could not help but ask. I'm thinking about that black crack. These insects are continuously crawling out from the crack. The other side of the crack might be another spacetime. Wang Zhong said solemnly. Now is not the time to think about this. Let's go. Since we're free now, I think we should figure out this crack. After Wang Zhong finished speaking, he looked around and saw a brick. He picked up the brick and violently threw it in that direction. Then, the two of them quickly hid behind the car and watched. The insects there exploded again, but the brick also fell into the crack and disappeared. As the brick entered the crack also twisted a little. It seemed that because of the brick, the crack was affected and the insects behind it did not crawl out anymore. This scene made Wang Zhong vaguely feel as though he had grasped something. Without a doubt, the brick must have fallen in. Then, could it be that they could also go in? How could they make such a crack disappear? Seeing that the brick was effective, Ni Shaoqin did not need Wang Zhong to say anything and also picked up the brick and threw it in that direction. The crack was affected by the brick and became even more distorted. The insects did not come out again. It seems that these cracks are not always there. Maybe if we attack harder, the crack will disappear. Wang Zhong concluded. At this time, the low growl of zombies could be heard from the distant street. Looking around, there were dozens of zombies slowly walking over. Let's go. At this moment, there was no point in staying here. It was better to leave quickly. The two of them went back the way they came. They did not go to the other pharmacy. After all, Ni Shaoqin was now without a shoe. It was very inconvenient to walk on the road. It was better to go back as soon as possible. When they passed by the security room, Wang Zhong moved back the box of instant noodles that he hid. In peacetime, no one liked to eat instant noodles. But in this apocalyptic world, instant noodles were simply a delicacy. Wang Zhong did not doubt that if survivors knew that he had half a box of instant noodles in his house, they would definitely come to snatch it. When they returned home, the two of them were already exhausted. Looking at each other, the two of them suddenly laughed. The feeling of surviving a disaster was quite good. In the afternoon, Wang Zhong was lying on the bed with an intravenous drip. After all, he used to be a veterinarian. Although he had forgotten this point for a long time, but once he was injured, he still had some knowledge of treatment. So when he came back, he gave himself an injection and an intravenous drip to reduce the inflammation. Ni Shaoqin sat on the bed, looking out the window, accompanying him. Suddenly, she stood up in surprise and pointed out the window in surprise. There is someone. Rescue team? No, that person actually entered the zombie crowd. Ni Shaoqin exclaimed. Her face was full of disbelief. Then, Ni Shaoqin knew that Wang Zhong could not move. She quickly supported him and let Wang Zhong look outside. Wang Zhong struggled to go to the window. He saw 3 men killing zombies. One of them was very fierce. He held a machete in each hand. He rushed into the zombie crowd alone and killed the zombies. There were more than 10 zombies in this group. After killing the zombies, the 2 men behind him squatted beside the group of zombies and cut open their heads. They seemed to be looking for something. That person is very powerful. Ni Xiaoqin exclaimed. Wang Zhong nodded. The man with the machete was indeed very powerful. The man was wearing a leather jacket. He was very agile. The slow zombies were not a threat to him at all. But what made him feel strange was not the man, but the 2 men behind him. Yes, the 2 men behind him were obviously his followers. Their clothes were tattered. When they were working, they looked at the man in leather jacket with eyes full of fear. The most strange thing was that those zombies had already fallen. Why did they cut open their heads? Why? It was very strange. But in the next moment, Wang Zhong found that something was wrong. Each of the 2 men had a luggage bag in their hands. After cutting open the zombie's head, they took out shiny objects from the zombie's head one after another. What is this? Wang Zhong felt that the shiny things were very mysterious. Chapter 306. Why do I feel like they are digging for something? Ni Xiaoqin, who was wearing glasses, also noticed that something was wrong with the group of people. It felt like these people were not killing zombies, but deliberately trying to get the shiny thing in the zombies' heads. I just saw it. It seems like every zombie has this thing in their head. Wang Zhong said. Whatever, let's go downstairs. This person is so powerful, we should meet up with him so that we can take care of each other in the future. Ni Xiaoqin immediately said. Wang Zhong was also a little moved, but after experiencing so many worlds, he understood that even in peacetime, some people cannot be completely trusted, let alone in this post-apocalyptic world. In this situation, people are selfish. One of them is a beautiful girl, the other is injured. If the other 3 men do something to them, what should they do? Boys should protect themselves in the outside world. Ni Xiaoqin muttered, It can't be, I saw that the man in leather killed so many zombies, he shouldn't be a bad person, right? Wang Zhong was also thinking. Indeed, it would be best if the 2 of them could find a place to rely on. But what if the other party has bad intentions? He is a boy, how can he protect himself when he is injured? Ni Xiaoqin is even more so. Although she is only 15 or 16 years old, she is still a girl. In this post-apocalyptic world, girls must pay attention to protect themselves. While the 2 of them were thinking, an accident happened. A pair of middle-aged men came out from a corridor and quickly ran over. Big brother, 3 big brothers, help. Wang Zhong heard the middle-aged man shouting from afar. Then he saw the man in leather looking up at the middle-aged man, frowning and asking something. The 2 of them talked for a while, and suddenly, the man in leather kicked the middle-aged man. This kick was very strong, and the middle-aged man held his stomach in pain. As for the other 2 men, they seemed to have received some kind of order. They walked towards the middle-aged woman and quickly grabbed her arm. At this time, the woman was also anxious and immediately knelt down to beg for something. But it was useless. The man in leather waved his hand, and the 2 men grabbed the woman and the middle-aged man and left. As for him, he took the bag of crystals from the zombies' heads and left. These people are really not good people. Ni Xiaoqin also saw this scene and her face turned ugly. This is the end of the world. Someone who used to be an ordinary person can do anything now. Wang Zhong said. Let's hide for now. We'll talk about it after you've recovered, Ni Xiaoqin said helplessly. Yes. This was what Wang Zhong thought as well. From that day onwards, the 2 of them began to stay at home. As Tian put herself on an 4 drip, the swelling on her right arm slowly subsided. Half a month later, the swelling finally subsided, but he still couldn't move his arm. These days, the food at home was almost finished. The salted vegetables and salted fish were all gone, leaving only half a bag of rice and a dozen packets of instant noodles. The food he was eating was truly too poor. Wang Zhong was very doubtful that it would be easy for his hands to recover if he lived a life without any nutrition. After all, if the bones wanted to grow faster, they had to be supplemented with calcium. Fortunately, although there wasn't much to eat, Wang Zhong's weather was good. Wang Zhong sunbathed on the balcony every day to replenish his calcium, and at the same time to observe the situation downstairs. These days, a lot of people left their neighborhood and chose to go outside. He didn't know their final destination, but according to his observation, these people didn't have much to eat. Even if they left, their lives would be miserable. Not only did they have to starve, but they also had to avoid the attacks of monsters. Rather than that, they might as well hide at home. In addition to these people, Wang Zhong saw the man in leather from last time. This time, the man brought 3 people to the entrance of their neighborhood. Because there were a lot of bat corpses, they pried open the bat skull and took out a bigger crystal. This time, because the distance was closer, Wang Zhong saw it clearly. After they cut open the bat skull with a machete, they took out the crystal and handed it to the man in leather. According to Wang Zhong's observation, the man in leather seemed to be stronger this time. Previously, he was holding a small machete, but this time, the machete was bigger. Just by looking at the size, he might not be able to hold it with his small body of 14 years old. This crystal must be very useful. Seeing this, Wang Zhong was moved. These people didn't spend so much effort to get these crystals just to get rich. It was very likely that it had something to do with the man in leather becoming stronger. Maybe it was because of these crystals that the man in leather became so strong. "Ni Xiaoqin, this crystal must be useful. Let's go get it too." At night, when the two were eating instant noodles, Wang Zhong suddenly said. Ni Xiaoqin drank a mouthful of instant noodle soup and said with some surprise, "Wang Yan, why are you suddenly thinking about this?" Wang Zhong shared his conjecture and continued, "That person doesn't look like a good person, but in order to obtain the crystal in the zombie's brain, he took the lead to kill the zombies. He definitely didn't do this to do good, but to obtain the crystal. This crystal will definitely be of great use to him." Wang Zhong's guess was not without reason. In his previous life at the Immortal Mountain, other than relying on the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, the most important thing for him to cultivate was to absorb external materials to cultivate. This crystal didn't look like an ordinary item. Then, could it be that the man in leather relied on this crystal to cultivate? So, he wanted to find this crystal and walk the path of becoming stronger. Ni Xiaoqin said, "But you look like this, and I don't have much strength." Wang Zhong said, "I have a way. Let's go upstairs." Ni Xiaoqin's eyes lit up. "You mean your mom?" Wang Zhong sighed and walked out first. Although there was no electricity and water, there was still a flashlight. These days, Wang Zhong didn't bear to use the flashlight because he was afraid of running out of power. He went upstairs with the flashlight and opened the familiar door. A stench quickly came out. At this time, Wang Zhong was glad that he chose to live downstairs earlier. Otherwise, he and Ni Xiaoqin would die from the stench. Ni Xiaoqin covered her nose and said, "Your mom has been dead for so long, how can there still be a crystal in her brain?" "Hey, you'll know when you see it." To be honest, Wang Zhong didn't want to open Yang Zi's skull, but in order to find out the secret of the crystal, he had to do it. "I believe that mother will understand me." Wang Zhong opened the door of Yang Zi's corpse. The corpse was already rotten, and the stench was unpleasant. Enduring the stench, Wang Zhong went to Yang Zi's head and knocked it without hesitation. "Kacha!" A crisp sound was heard. Wang Zhong found that after a corpse turned into a zombie, the bones will become very brittle. At this time, in the dark, the place where the skull was knocked open suddenly lit up. Chapter 307. This is that kind of crystal. Ni Xiaoqin also noticed that the room was illuminated by this kind of crystal in the middle of the night. The brightness was almost the same as their flashlight. Wang Zhong used a knife to pick out the crystal. This crystal was not big, at least compared to the one the leather jacket guy got from the bat skull a few days ago. It was much smaller. This gave him a guess. Is the stronger the monster, the bigger the crystal? Will the energy contained in it be bigger? The crystal in front of him was only the size of an eyeball, oval in shape, and it was shining with some white light. After wrapping the crystal with a rag, the two of them left the place. Back home, Wang Zhong washed the crystal with water, turned on the flashlight and looked at the crystal. It looks like a luminous pearl. Ni Xiaoqin said. Yeah, unfortunately we don't know its function. Wang Zhong was a bit depressed. Should we just eat it? Ni Xiaoqin guessed, but soon, she quickly shook her head. This thing is in the zombie's brain. What if there is a virus? If we eat it, we will turn into a zombie. Wang Zhong nodded to show his agreement. This thing shouldn't be eaten. The reason was simple. The leather jacket guy appeared around the neighborhood 3 times to take the crystal, but he did not see him eat it once. Therefore, this thing should not be eaten, but has some other function. After thinking about it, Wang Zhong tried to absorb the energy from the crystal according to his previous training method. But after 10 minutes, there was no reaction from the crystal, and there was no energy fluctuation on it. Weird, really weird. Wang Zhong frowned. Unable to figure it out, Wang Zhong could only put the crystal aside to rest. The next day, Wang Zhong looked at their food and decided to go out to look for food. At the same time, he also decided to deal with some lone zombies to search for the crystal. Although he did not know the function of the crystal, it would be good to collect it. First, he decided to search this building first. Because he lived here for many years, Wang Zhong more or less knew about the residents here. There were several people in the house, so he knew the situation. Arriving at the top floor, there were 4 apartments on this floor, all of which had their doors tightly shut. Looks like he hasn't come out yet. This is very abnormal. Wang Zhong looked at Ni Xiaoqin behind him and said, It's very likely that they've all turned into zombies. Only when all of them had turned into zombies would it make sense for the family to not come out for more than half a month. Because if they didn't become zombies, no matter how scared they were, they would still try to find a way to leave their homes and go out to seek help. Boom boom boom. Wang Zhong smashed the door of the house on the far left with a hammer. Fortunately, this was an old residential area, and the security door was not very sturdy. The lock was quickly smashed open. At the same time, he heard 2 beast-like whimpers coming from the house. I remember that these 2 are old men who stayed behind to take care of the family. They're already in their 70s. Wang Zhong explained to Ni Xiaoqin, so they're easier to deal with. Let's deal with these 2 first. As the saying goes, pick the soft persimmon first. The 2 old zombies were much easier to deal with than some young and strong zombies. Ni Xiaoqin tightly grasped an iron pipe with both hands. These days, the front end of the iron pipe had been sharpened by her with an oil stone, so it would be much easier to deal with them. The door was slowly pushed open. The 2 old zombies were already waiting at the door. The moment the door was opened, they rushed out. Ni Xiaoqin's eyes were sharp and her hands were fast. The head of the zombie was directly stabbed in the neck and nailed to the wall behind it. The other zombie squeezed over. Wang Zhong's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. He rushed over and aimed the hammer at the zombie's head and smashed it. Gotcha! The zombie immediately became motionless. Wang Zhong held the hammer in his left hand and smashed at the nailed zombie. The 2 zombies were finally dealt with. Wang Zhong was so tired that his right hand started to hurt. Ni Xiaoqin wasn't afraid of being disgusted this time. She rummaged through the zombie's brains and found 2 crystals. The size was similar to the one she got before. Not bad, there are crystals in both zombies' brains. Ni Xiaoqin said happily. Okay, let's search inside. The 2 of them rummaged through the house. This family seemed to have 2 people who became zombies at the same time, so there was a lot of food in the house. They also found a lot of health supplements in the bedroom. They guessed that these 2 old people were empty nesters and were tricked into buying a lot of health supplements. In the past, Wang Zhong would definitely scoff at these so-called health supplements and nutrition products. But this time was different. There were a lot of calcium supplements, nutritional milk powder, bone powder, and even a lot of calcium tablets and bird's nest. He didn't know if these were authentic or not, but at least they could fill his stomach. No matter how bad the nutrition products were, they wouldn't die from eating them, right? Seeing so many things, the 2 of them laughed excitedly. Not bad, this is a big harvest. This day, The two of them were busy for half a day before they moved the food and necessities to the place where they lived downstairs. Now they didn't have to worry about food. The two of them hunted the zombies in the building every day for the next few days. After a few days, there were finally no zombies left in the building. Because of this, they collected more than 50 crystals. There were so many crystals in the bag that it felt heavy. The two of them were very excited to have such a big harvest, but there was also a problem in front of them. That is, although there were a lot of crystals, they didn't know how to use them. That night, like before, the monsters appeared again. Wang Zhong and Ni Xiaoqin leaned on the window, looking downstairs in boredom, talking about what to do in the future. I haven't bathed for a few days, my body is so itchy. Ni Xiaoqin muttered. Yeah, you say, should we search the nearby area? Wang Zhong said. There are a lot of monsters outside. We can go out during the day. It's best if we can find out where the leather jacket man lives and find out the secret of his strength. After all, the food will run out one day, and if we continue like this, we will only get weaker and weaker. Wang Zhong explained. Ni Xiaoqin didn't have any opinions, so she didn't know what to say. The night passed quickly. The next day, the two of them began to pack. The injury on their arms hadn't completely healed, but at least it didn't hurt now. Other than not being able to use their arms, it didn't affect anything else. The two of them packed their things and went downstairs. The road was filled with a rotten smell. This was the smell of the rotting monsters and zombies. Wang Zhong was worried that if this continued, there would be a plague outbreak. After thinking about it, it seemed unlikely. Because there were no large-scale human gathering areas, and people rarely moved around, so the plague wouldn't break out easily. At most, it would be localized. The two of them went in the direction where the leather jacket man came from. Along the way, the zombies and monsters' skulls were pried open, and the crystals inside were already taken away. Hey, there seems to be black smoke in front. Suddenly, Ni Xiaoqin pointed at a department store not far away. That place used to be very prosperous, but after the apocalypse, there were a lot of zombies. But now, that place was emitting black smoke, as if someone set it on fire. Let's go and see. Wang Zhong walked in front, and soon came to an abandoned car not far from the department store. At the entrance of the department store, a group of zombies was gathered together. Next to the zombies, there were more than 10 men and women, and the leader was the leather jacket man. This time, the leather jacket man wore a pair of sunglasses, and under his command, the zombies were thrown into the fire. Roar! Suddenly, a beast about the size of an elephant rushed out of the department store. As soon as it came out, the beast picked up a person and swallowed it. It's a wolf beast, a wolf beast. The group suddenly became a mess. The leather jacket man probably didn't expect that there would be such a strong wolf beast in the department store. He waved his hand and shouted, "Evacuate, evacuate!" The group of people threw down a few corpses and left. It seems that person is not strong enough to deal with such a strong beast. After Wang Zhong finished, he turned to Ni Xiaoqin and said, "Let's follow them. There are so many of them, so there must be clues along the way. Let's go around the department store." Ni Xiaoqin nodded. Then let's go. Fortunately, after living here for so many years, Wang Zhong was very familiar with the department store. After bypassing the wolf beast, they quickly passed through the department store. Further ahead, there was a hardware street, which was full of places that sold tools. There were obvious traces of human life here, because there were no zombie corpses on the road. Instead, there were piles of burned zombies. Wang Zhong felt that this time, he must have found the area where the leather jacket man and his group were active. As he walked, Wang Zhong suddenly heard 2 sets of footsteps behind him. He quickly turned around and saw a man and a woman, holding sharpened iron rods, aiming at them. "Don't move." You've never dug out a zombie's head before. Have you seen a kind of crystal? The woman asked. Ni Xiaoqin shook her head innocently. No. Wang Zhong also said, "We don't even dare to kill zombies, how could we have seen a crystal?" "All right then, let's go." The man and woman were somewhat disappointed. As they walked back, the woman muttered, "Today's task of finding crystals was not completed. Fortunately, we found 2 survivors. Our rations for this week should be settled." Well, although this boy's hand is broken, he can still do some small work. The two didn't avoid whispering. Wang Zhong listened and felt somewhat uncomfortable. It seemed that the so-called survivors community didn't have a good life. "Big brother, big sister, why are you looking for this kind of crystal? Shouldn't you be looking for some food at this time? I haven't eaten for several days." Wang Zhong asked. This crystal didn't seem to be a secret among the survivors, so the man responded, "This is something like a currency." "Currency?" Wang Zhong was interested. "How do you spend this crystal? Are they all in the zombies and monsters' heads?" "Sure." Suddenly, the man reached out and looked around vigilantly. "Did you hear footsteps? The zombies around here have been cleared by us. There shouldn't be any zombies, right?" The woman said. "It could also be those peoples." The woman nodded. "Well, it's possible. Let's go back quickly." Can we not go back?" At this time, Wang Zhong was not ready to leave. It was very simple. They didn't have to worry about food or clothes. The purpose of coming out was only to find out the secret of the crystal. Therefore, there was no need to go back with them. Moreover, from what they said, it was not easy to live in that community. Food was distributed according to labor. Leader Tsang Zhenxiang's words were absolute. No one could disobey. Therefore, instead of living a precarious life, it was better for him and Ni Shaoqin to hide and live. Unexpectedly, the man sneered. "You don't have anything to eat. Where are you going to hide?" My relatives are in the block in front. I'll go to them." Wang Zhong had an idea. "Don't be silly, kid. The block in front has been occupied by a group of big bees. Even the terrible creatures like wolf beasts don't dare to go there. You still want to go there? Your relatives are already dead." The woman persuaded. "Then let's go there." Ni Shaoqin pointed to the other side of the community. "My uncle lives there." "What uncle and auntie? Come with us." The man lost his patience and pulled Ni Shaoqin. "Hurry up and go. You can go wherever you want once you reach the community." "You can't do this. How can you force us to go there?" Wang Zhong argued. "Let me go." Ni Shaoqin kept struggling. Slap. Unexpectedly, at this moment, the man threw a slap at him. "Did I give you face? If I tell you to go, then go. If you continue to complain, I'll do you right here." Immediately, the pitiful Ni Shaoqin covered her face and cried. "Why did you hit me? Boo-hoo," she said tearfully. "If you cry again, I'll do you." Saying that, the man coldly glanced at Ni Shaoqin's brother. Wang Zhong quickly stood in front of Ni Shaoqin and said, "Brother, Ni Shaoqin is not sensible. Don't be angry. Didn't you hear footsteps just now? Could someone be following you? Let's go. We'll follow you to the community. At least you know what's good for you. Let's go." The man was not in the mood to do Ni Shaoqin at this time. He was just trying to scare her. Then, the two of them let Wang Zhong and Ni Shaoqin walk in front. Ni Shaoqin wiped away her tears. As she walked, she looked at Wang Zhong and asked him what to do next. Wang Zhong weighed the pros and cons. One of his hands was broken, so he could only be obedient for the time being. Soon, the four of them arrived at the community led by Tsang Zhenxiang. This was a big supermarket called Jiali Fu. It was surrounded by a row of storefronts. However, at this moment, there were some guards holding long iron spears on the roofs of these storefronts. The four of them arrived at the entrance of the supermarket parking lot. Two tall guards walked out. "Yo, Lei, two of you went out. Why are the four of you back?" One of the guards walked to Ni Shaoqin and teased, "This girl is quite pretty. She's a student, right? She's definitely a student. I'll bring her to Brother Zheng later. Don't even think about it. Otherwise, Brother Zheng will send you to the suicide squad. Lei smiled faintly. The guard seemed to be afraid of being sent to the suicide squad. He said angrily, "Okay, bring her to Brother Zheng first. If Brother Zheng doesn't like her, Lei, you have to take advantage of me." "Damn, my wife already did it and you still want her." Lei glanced at the woman beside him. The guard curled his lips and said, "It's not like I didn't give you bread. I paid you 3 days of rations. Zhongju, do you still have rations? I'll accompany you tonight." At this moment, the woman came over and smiled. "Go, go, go." Zhongju quickly retreated as if he was chasing away the plague. "I don't even have enough rations for myself recently." "Where's your wife?" Lei asked. "Hasn't she been earning rations for you?" "Damn, she hasn't been feeling well recently." "Okay, take care of her body. We're going in." After chatting for a while, Lei and his wife rushed Wang Zhong and Ni Xiaoqin in. Wang Zhong was in a bad mood. From the conversation between the two, it could be seen that this so-called survivor community was completely devoid of civilization. And it seemed that rations were also very scarce. In order to survive, these husbands took out their wives. Ni Xiaoqin wasn't stupid. She naturally knew what was going to happen next. She nervously said, "What should we do next?" "Find a way to leave here." Wang Zhong glanced at Lei and asked, "Brother Lei, are we going to see Brother Zheng later?" "Yes, every newcomer has to see him." "Brother Lei, do you know how Brother Zheng became so powerful?" Chapter 309. Glancing at Wang Zhong, Lei frowned and said, "You've been in this situation for so long. You really don't know?" This time, Wang Zhong nodded seriously and said, "You see, I'm injured. How can I go out?" Lei nodded and thought that it was true. "I'll tell you. You just have to be smart and don't cause trouble for me." "Of course." "Listen, do you remember that day when the world changed and the crack in the sky?" Wang Zhong recalled for a moment and nodded his head. "There were also streaks of light coming out from that crack?" "Yes, it's those lights. We call them the exchange office." "Exchange office?" At this time, Ni Xiaoqin was also attracted. "Brother Lei, isn't that light a monster?" "Monster? Ha ha ha." The woman was amused. "That's good stuff. You actually think it's a monster?" Wang Zhong was puzzled, but he suddenly thought of the crystals in the zombies' heads. These people called crystals as currency. Could it be that they used crystals to exchange for something at the exchange office? Lei also smiled, thinking that these two children really didn't know about crystals. Otherwise, how could they not know about the exchange office? In order to prevent Wang Zhong and Ni Xiaoqin from making trouble, he explained, "That kind of light fell all over the world, but the location is fixed. Take the crystals in the zombies' heads. As long as you go to the light, the exchange office will appear in front of you." Brother Zheng became so powerful because he exchanged for something good? Wang Zhong suddenly realized. "Kid, your perception is pretty good." "Not bad, he's just lucky to have exchanged for it early on." When Lei said this, his wife quickly pushed him, "Be careful not to be heard by Brother Zheng's security team. Did you forget the last time Auntie Chen talked about Brother Zheng behind his back and was fed to zombies?" Lei's hair suddenly stood up. He swallowed nervously and looked around. After finding that no one was around, he breathed a sigh of relief. "Wife, fortunately, you reminded me." "You're always so careless." The woman scolded. Lei coughed and said to Wang Zhong, "Let's go." "Wait a moment. Since the crystals you're talking about are in the zombies' brains, I know a place full of zombies where you can find crystals." Wang Zhong suddenly said. From the previous conversation, he knew that these people had been assigned to look for crystals. Each of them had a week's worth of tasks. Otherwise, they wouldn't have any rations. Therefore, telling them this now would definitely pique their interest. As expected, Lei looked at Wang Zhong in surprise. How many zombies? More than 10. They're all in the same pharmacy. Pharmacy? Wang Zhong said, my hand was injured. When I went to the pharmacy to look for medicine, I saw more than a dozen zombies. It seems that on the day of the accident, these people were huddled together. In the end, they didn't manage to escape and became zombies. Wang Zhong's words made Lei and his wife hesitate. The two of them walked to the side and discussed in a low voice. More than a dozen zombies means more than a dozen crystals. Plus the more than a dozen crystals we've saved recently, we can exchange a lot of good things. The woman whispered. Well, but we have to go to Brother Zheng to exchange. We have to give him 5 crystals. Lei said. Anyway, let's go there this time and get the crystals. Okay. After the couple finished their discussion, they smiled at Wang Zhong. Young man, where is that place? I can tell you that some of the zombies are very powerful. There are more than a dozen zombies here. Have you seen any of them with big heads and strong bodies? Lei asked patiently and systematically. Wang Zhong sneered in his heart. This couple really coaxed him like a child. But this was also good. Being weak was a good disguise for him now. Wang Zhong revealed a harmless expression as he said, when we went to get the medicine, we saw that these zombies were all locked up in the house. It's not easy for them to come out. Stabbing one of them to death at the door would be enough to deal with them. That's it. After listening to Wang Zhong's description, Lei felt that this was an opportunity. These days, he and his wife searched around for a long time. The zombies and weak monsters were getting fewer and fewer, making it harder and harder for them to get crystals. There was also a rule here, that is, everyone had to give 10 crystals to Brother Zheng every week. In addition, they used crystals to buy rations. There were many kinds of rations: instant noodles, rice, some yellowing vegetables, and snacks. These foods were all plundered from the nearby area. Strictly speaking, the food in the market won't cause a famine in a short time, but the problem is that many large supermarkets and areas were occupied by monsters and zombies. No matter how hungry people are, they don't dare to go to those places to look for food. Therefore, this caused a severe shortage of food. Everyone who is protected by Brother Zheng needs to buy food with crystals. Of course, the price is set by Brother Zheng. If anyone dares to disagree, no problem, they will be dragged to the suicide squad. The so-called suicide squad is that there is no food in the camp. These people have to deal with some monsters and zombies to get food and daily necessities. Of course, you can choose to leave here at night. It's not that no one in the camp ran away, but most people thought for a long time and came back. It's very simple, even outside is not necessarily better than here. Although they won't be taxed, every night, every time they go out to look for food, they will be scared, not to mention food. Few people are as lucky as Wang Zhong. Although they will be exploited in the camp, at least they can sleep soundly. The strength of a group is always stronger than the strength of an individual. On the way, Lei and his wife may feel that Wang Zhong is useful, so they told him the rules of the camp. Kid, don't worry, this time when we go back, wait for me to exchange something good, I will protect you, at least no one in the camp will dare to bully you. Lei patted his chest and laughed. Wang Zhong, of course, didn't take this person's words seriously. Even an idiot knows that he can't trust anyone at this time. He probably said this because he doesn't want him to cause trouble. Although he was thinking about it, Wang Zhong still pretended to be surprised and said, "Thank you, Brother Lei." Ni Shaoqin didn't speak along the way. Because she was very curious, what does Wang Zhong want to do? Along the way, they didn't see a pharmacy with more than a dozen zombies. Ni Shaoqin couldn't help but look at Wang Zhong. She found that Wang Zhong and Lei were talking and laughing, and didn't look worried at all, so she secretly sighed in relief. Wang Yan must have his reasons for saying this. Soon, the 4 of them walked out of the camp. After they came out, Wang Zhong asked, "Brother Lei, you just said that you heard footsteps, could there be a group of people following you? Brother Zheng is so powerful, do you have enemies?" Wang Zhong asked this because he also wanted to know about the nearby forces. From this time, he found that in just a month or so, the nearby area changed too much. The forces led by Zhang Jianxiang occupied this area. Wang Zhong guessed that there must be other forces nearby, and it would be easier to do things in the future if he knew more. Sure enough, Lei nodded and said, "You're talking about Grandpa Gang." Grandpa Gang? Wang Zhong was stunned. He couldn't figure out who came up with such a lousy name. Not only was it not domineering, but it also made people want to laugh. Grandpa Gang is not simple. Their leader is a woman. Oh, a woman. Ni Xiaoqin had an idea when she heard that. Compared to this human community, she wanted to go to Grandpa Gang more. After all, a woman was the leader, and she was also a woman, so it was better. Don't look down on them, they eat people. The woman understood Ni Xiaoqin's thoughts and said with a cold smile. Ni Xiaoqin's face changed, and Wang Zhong's face also darkened. They thought that Zhang Jianxiang's community was already very cruel, where everyone was enslaved by Zhang Jianxiang, and even the women were picked by him. They didn't expect that this Grandpa Gang's place was even crueler, and they actually ate their own kind. Ni Xiaoqin felt a little uncomfortable in her stomach. Wang Zhong said, "How can it be so cruel? Although there are many monsters in this world, generally speaking, there isn't a shortage of food. What does a child like you know? This is called deterrence. Look, who would dare to go against Grandpa Gang?" Wang Zhong nodded, thinking that this was the same as him pretending to be weak. He pretended to be weak as a protective layer, so others wouldn't take him seriously. And this Grandpa Gang, just from the name, was very domineering. Perhaps this was their deterrence. They wanted outsiders to know that they were very powerful, and no one should provoke them. Their leader, or brother Zheng, who's more powerful? At this time, Ni Xiaoqin asked curiously. "I'm not sure about that, but I heard from others in the camp that brother Zheng fought with the leader of Grandpa Gang, Yi Chanqian, and they ended up in a tie." "It seems that they're both very powerful," Wang Zhong said. "Aren't you talking nonsense? Yi Chanqian's territory is now in a high-end residential area. That place was previously occupied by a goshawk, and in the end, the goshawk was killed by Yi Chanqian. You can imagine how powerful she is." After the man finished speaking, he smiled and patted Wang Zhong on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry, we took the crystals this time. When I exchange for something good, I'll support you." Wang Zhong naturally listened to this kind of flattery and asked, "What good things did they exchange for that they're so powerful?" "We don't know about Yi Chanqian, but brother Zheng, I saw him last time, and he was invulnerable. He also seems to be very strong," the woman said next to him. Wang Zhong was shocked. Invulnerable, and extremely strong. Recalling the scene of Zhang Jianxiang fighting, he suddenly remembered that this guy seemed to be not afraid of rushing into a zombie crowd. Since he was invulnerable, he should not be afraid of being bitten by zombies, so he dared to rush in. Wang Zhong secretly thought, "Well, don't think about it, we've been gone for so long, where is the place?" Lei looked at Wang Zhong and asked. Wang Zhong smiled as he thought to himself, "I'll think of a way to escape from these two later." Chapter 310. I'm asking you a question. What are you laughing at? Lei frowned. Wang Zhong said, "I'm thinking, if only I could be as powerful as brother Zheng. Oh, when we get the crystals this time, I'll protect you. If possible, I'll help you improve your strength." Wang Zhong was overjoyed. "Thank you, brother Lei. Ha ha ha. Let's go." The couple winked at each other. They were already thinking about killing the two children when they got the crystals. After all, they got so many crystals this time. In order not to let others know, of course, they had to kill the two children. It's right ahead. Finally, the four people came to the place where Wang Zhong got the medicine. Wang Zhong pointed there and continued, "When we went to get the medicine that day, there were a lot of zombies inside." "Okay, let's go." Lei nodded. He couldn't wait. At the same time, he nodded to his wife. They had lived together for so long, so Lei's wife naturally knew what her husband was thinking. That was, he wanted to kill the two children after using them. Seeing the pharmacy, Enai Xiaoqin's heart moved. She already knew Wang Zhong's plan. She thought about it, and in order to cooperate with Wang Zhong, she deliberately said, "There are a lot of zombies there. I'm scared." "Haha, don't worry." Lei smiled, and he was even more proud. "Hey, why is there a black thing at the door?" At this time, Lei's wife noticed the black worm. After Wang Zhong and Enai Xiaoqin left last time, although the crack was destroyed, it only temporarily stopped the worms from coming out. Later, as the crack recovered, the worms came out again. Looking at the scale, it was much bigger than before. Wang Zhong carefully looked at the couple's expressions and felt relieved. Looking at their curious look, it seemed that they didn't know the horror of those worms. This was within Wang Zhong's expectation. He had been on this street these days and didn't see anyone come here at all. So when he mentioned this place, he guessed that the two people didn't know the horror of those worms. "Those are big maggots. They are really disgusting and horrible," Wang Zhong suddenly said. "Terrifying? How terrifying?" Lei's eyes narrowed. The experience of the apocalypse made everyone vigilant. "It eats people," Wang Zhong described. "Those worms have their mouths wide open, and their teeth are very sharp. Look at the corpses on the side, they were eaten by worms." The two of them took a closer look, and sure enough, they saw Dr. Chen's corpse. That day, after Dr. Chen collapsed from the corrosion, Wang Zhong discovered that the insects would climb onto his corpse and eat it. In a sense, insects did eat meat. "You didn't say there were insects when we came here." Lei's face turned ugly. He suspected that there was a trap. "Don't worry. Although these insects eat people, their speed is very slow," Wang Zhong said. "Is that so?" Lei nodded and said to Wang Zhong, "Let's go in. You guys walk in front." Wang Zhong's expression changed instantly. This person was really not easy to fool. If he let them walk in front, once the insects self-destructed, he and Enai Xiaoqin would not be able to survive. For a moment, Wang Zhong's mind raced. What to do, what to do? That was the only way. Wang Zhong nodded. "Okay, we'll walk in front." Walking along the car, the four of them arrived at the entrance of the pharmacy. Wang Zhong pointed at the small room inside the pharmacy and said, "It's there." "It doesn't look like there's any movement." The woman frowned. "The zombies didn't encounter anyone, so of course there's no movement." Wang Zhong said, "You're right. Let's go." "Wait." Wang Zhong looked back at the couple and said, "There are too many insects at the door. Let's go over first and lure them out." "Okay, let's lure them out." Wang Zhong turned to Enai Xiaoqin and said, "You're a slow woman. Stay here and observe the surroundings. If there's a monster, you have to warn us." Enai Xiaoqin was touched. She understood that Wang Zhong was helping her. This time, Lei didn't think too much and nodded, "Okay." Thus, the three of them walked to the door. The man and woman stood on his right, nervously staring at the pile of insects. At this moment, they were only about 2 meters away from the pile of insects. Wang Zhong noticed that a few of the insects were already wary of them, and their bodies were gradually expanding. This was a sign that they were about to explode. Now is the time. At this moment, Wang Zhong picked up a pile of stones on the ground and said, "I'll throw stones to lure them over." Without waiting for Lei to reply, Wang Zhong threw the stones in his hand. These stones were like a hornet's nest. In an instant, the bodies of the large group of insects began to expand. Some of the insects were particularly large. According to his previous experience, Wang Zhong knew that these insects would explode very far away, at least 10 meters away. "Hey, why are these insects' stomachs all open?" The woman noticed that something was wrong. "This is a sign that they're about to eat." As Wang Zhong spoke, he silently calculated the speed at which these insects exploded. 1, 2. Now is the time. Bang, bang, bang. Without warning, the bodies of the insects in front of them exploded. At the same time, Wang Zhong hurriedly hid behind the two of them. Wang Zhong had thought about it before he came. These two people didn't know that these insects could explode. As long as he hid behind the two people at the moment of explosion, the concentrated sulfuric acid wouldn't splash on him. This method was very dangerous, but it was definitely feasible. Ah! What is this? What is this? The woman's face was splashed with concentrated sulfuric acid, and she immediately covered her face in pain. The man didn't have it easy either. The concentrated sulfuric acid splashed into his eyes, and he immediately fell to the ground and rolled around in pain. After the first wave of concentrated sulfuric acid was blocked, Wang Zhong retreated and hid behind a car. Only the screams of the couple could be heard. Suddenly, Wang Zhong, who was hiding behind the car, felt a pain in his hair. He quickly looked at the rearview mirror of the car. Ah, your hair is stained with sulfuric acid. At this time, Ni Shaoqin exclaimed. Wang Zhong also saw his scalp in the rearview mirror. There was too much sulfuric acid explosion just now, and a lot of it was sprinkled in the sky. He was inevitably sprinkled with some water. Wang Zhong quickly said. Fortunately, they had brought food and water with them when they came out. Ni Shaoqin immediately took out a bottle of mineral water from the farmer's spring from her bag and poured it on Wang Zhong's head. Fortunately, there wasn't much sulfuric acid on his hair, only a few drops, so it was easy to wash it away. However, his scalp was ruined, and he was afraid that he would grow a spicy head in the future. Looking from the car window, Lei and his wife's skulls were already corroded, and the two of them were already motionless. Let's go back. Wang Zhong looked around and saw that there was nothing wrong, so he quickly left with Ni Shaoqin. It was too dangerous outside. The best thing to do now was to hide. Chapter 3:11. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. During this time, other than Sang Jianxiang's area, the two of them had searched every other area. Now, they had more than 100 crystals in their storage, which was considered a huge fortune. Unfortunately, he still could not find the exchange point that Lei mentioned the other day. Wang Zhong guessed that the light was not in the area he was in, which made him feel helpless and regretful. Fortunately, after this period of rest, the injury on his arm had recovered a lot. Although his right arm was as thin as a bamboo pole due to the injury, at least the bone had recovered, and he only needed to train more in the future. What made them curious was that while other areas were gradually showing signs of human activity, there were none in their area. After some observation, they found out that the problem was the black crevice downstairs. When the army came to rescue them that day, countless bats flew out from the black crevice. Now, the roofs of the nearby buildings were full of bats, so there were no monsters or zombies nearby. Because the bats hunted at night, many zombies and monsters were killed by them. Many people knew that the bats appeared here, so many people did not dare to come here. This accident caused this area to become a no-man's land. Wang Zhong and Ni Shaoqin were lucky. They stayed at home and did not go out at night, so they did not encounter any bats. When they went out in the day, the bats went to rest. Knowing this, Wang Zhong and Ni Shaoqin rejoiced endlessly. During this time, the two of them went out in the day. Other than searching for food, they were looking for exchange points. Unfortunately, they did not find any. On this day, the two of them finally decided to leave. There was not much food left, and if they stayed, they would be waiting for death. Most importantly, they found that there were many people coming over to search for supplies. This was also within Wang Zhong's expectations. It was simple. Many people were afraid of the bats at first, thinking that they could not fight them. However, as time passed, these people gradually found out that the bats only moved out at night, so it was safe for them to come in the day. Therefore, many people started to come here. To Wang Zhong's surprise, he once heard a group of people shouting from downstairs, "We're from Grandpa's gang. People upstairs, listen up. If you're still alive, come downstairs and we'll help you." This made Ni Shaoqin very scared. Needless to say, Wang Zhong was even more scared. Last time, Lei had said that this group of people from the master's gang were not good people. So they didn't go downstairs. After that, This group of people began to search the area. Basically, they would come every 2 or 3 days. If this continued, they would be found sooner or later. Thus, the best thing to do now was to leave this place. The two of them finished their calculations and began their preparations. He went downstairs and walked in the opposite direction of Tsang Jianxiang's community. The weather today was pretty good. The sun shone down on them, making them feel warm. Wang Zhong and Ni Xiaoqin gnawed on the last bit of dried salted fish as they walked and observed their surroundings. Before they left, the two of them had calculated the days. Sir's gang usually came every 2 days, so it was very safe to leave at this time. It's best if we have a car. Ni Xiaoqin was really tired from walking. The car makes too much noise. Did you forget that last time when someone drove past our building, a group of zombies was attracted? Wang Zhong shook his head and said, "Hold on for a while. I remember there's a row of shared bicycles parked in front. It's best if we have a tricycle." Ni Xiaoqin sighed. Just as they were talking, something unexpected happened. 2 tricycles really did come to the front. These were obviously modified electric tricycles. The road had been cleaned up long ago, so the 2 tricycles were unimpeded and drove quickly. Seeing the people coming, Wang Zhong's expression changed. This was because he recognized the owners of the 2 tricycles. These were people from Sir's gang. He had seen these people drive the tricycles several times, move a lot of supplies onto them, and then leave. Run. Wang Zhong made a prompt decision and quickly left with Ni Xiaoqin. However, it was too late. With a swoosh, a sharp arrow shot at Wang Zhong's feet. Then, he heard the loudspeaker on the tricycle shouting, "Broken fridge, broken TV, broken home appliances, anyone selling? Wrong turn." The muscular man driving the tricycle quickly turned off the loudspeaker and changed to a new channel. "The 2 people in front, listen up. Come here immediately, or don't blame us for being rude." "Wang Yan, what do we do now?" Ni Xiaoqin was anxious. Wang Zhong wanted to run, but when he looked behind him, there were more than 10 people on the 2 tricycles. There were men and women, and 5 of the women were quite beautiful. These 5 people all had crossbows, and he had no idea where they got them from. With so many crossbows, it was very intimidating. Wang Zhong weighed the pros and cons, and decided not to move. After all, if he ran now, he would die anyway, so he might as well stay. He thought to himself, "I'll live as long as I can, and figure out the situation here. If I die, I'll just start over. Big brother, big sister, we are refugees, please don't kill us." Ni Xiaoqin knew that she was a little girl, and when she spoke, others would let down their guard. She could also act pitiful. Soon, the 2 tricycles stopped in front of Wang Zhong. These 5 girls were clearly the leaders of this group. This caused Wang Zhong to be rather astonished. This was because the other 10 or so boys were stronger than them in terms of physique and height. He couldn't figure out why these few girls were the leaders of this group. After thinking for a while, he felt that these 5 women must have exchanged for something good. The 5 women were of different ages. The leader had a cold expression, and the rest had different expressions. Some were curiously looking at Ni Xiaoqin, some were fiercely glaring at Wang Zhong, and most of them were vigilant. "What's your name?" The leader woman with a ponytail asked Ni Xiaoqin. It seemed that these women were interested in Ni Xiaoqin. "My name is Ni Xiaoqin." Ni Xiaoqin lowered her head and said, Who is this man? Did he take the opportunity to bully you? Tell me if he did, and I will help you deal with him." The ponytail woman said coldly. No. Ni Xiaoqin hurriedly waved her hands. "He is my good friend, and saved my life. We have been relying on each other these days." Ni Xiaoqin quickly said. Ni Xiaoqin's words made the women's expressions look better. In this post-apocalyptic world, there are not many people as good as him, and he even saved you." A woman chewing gum walked around Wang Zhong and said, "He didn't touch you?" Black lines appeared on Wang Zhong's face. What kind of questions were these girls asking? Why were they still asking such questions at this time? Ni Xiaoqin innocently shook her head and said, "His name is Wang Yan, and he is a good person. He knows how to make sesame seed cakes and cook. He is a very good person." These days, because there was no rice, Wang Zhong collected flour to make sesame seed cakes. Chapter 312. Unexpectedly, the woman who was chewing gum laughed and said, "He can make pancakes. Does that mean he can drink medicine quickly?" Ni Xiaoqin did not know why she was laughing. She could only awkwardly squeeze out a smile and said, "Miss, he's really a good person. Are you guys from Grandpa's gang? You know us?" the pony-tailed woman asked. The woman who was chewing gum immediately pointed her crossbow at Wang Zhong and said, "Tell me, which gang are you from? If I say it's just the two of us, would you believe me?" Wang Zhong glanced at the woman who was chewing gum. He suddenly felt that this woman was quite familiar, as if he had seen her somewhere before, but he could not remember where. "Do you think we'll believe you? Tell me, are you from Tsang Jianxiang's gang?" Ni Xiaoqin hurriedly said, "That's where we escaped from." After that, Ni Xiaoqin told Gu Ning about their escape. The reason why she told him everything was because, according to a woman's intuition, Ni Xiaoqin could see the kindness in these women's eyes. This was called liking each other, which was very useful during a blind date. "So, it seems that you were the one who led those two guys to the pile of insects, and that's how you escaped?" The pony-tailed woman put away her crossbow and said with a smile, "That's right. Those two people are not good people." Wang Zhong touched his hair as he said that. After that incident, his hair had corroded his scalp, causing him to no longer look as handsome as he used to. "Poor thing, you're all disfigured. Okay, come with us to the camp now," the pony-tailed woman said to Ni Xiaoqin. Ni Xiaoqin asked meekly, "That? I heard that your camp eats people." "Haha, that's funny." The pony-tailed woman laughed and said, "If we did that kind of bad thing, we would have killed you long ago." "That's true." Ni Xiaoqin smiled and said, "Miss, what's your name? Let's talk about it when we get back." The pony-tailed woman looked at Wang Zhong and said, "Do you want to come with us? For men, we don't care if they follow us or not, but if they do, they have to work hard, or they won't have anything to eat." Now, Wang Zhong could see it clearly. These people from Grandpa's gang were not bad, but the camp was led by a group of women. Men did not seem to have a high status there, but they could survive. Moreover, it was obvious that the news of Grandpa's gang eating people was spread by Tsang Jianxiang's gang. Their goal was self-evident. They wanted to vilify the other organizations in order to strengthen the cohesion of their own organization. After thinking about it, Wang Zhong decided to follow this group of people. At least, if this group of people could treat Ni Xiaoqin well, then he wouldn't have to worry about anything. "I'll go with you," Wang Zhong said. "All right, you can follow us. My name is Ma Wan." The pony-tailed woman nodded and turned to a skinny man behind her. "Song Jian, you will take care of Wang Yan from now on. He's new here, so take care of him." "Understood, Sister Ma." Song Jian nodded and smiled at Wang Zhong. "Since you've lived here for a long time, you should be very familiar with this place, right? Do you know where the pharmacy is?" Ma Wan said, "Our camp was attacked a few days ago and several people were injured." "I know." Wang Zhong nodded. This was a good chance to show off. "Lead the way," Wang Zhong said. Wang Zhong walked back and quickly arrived at a pharmacy on the street where they lived. On the way, Wang Zhong carefully observed this group of people. Overall, their attitude was quite friendly. Song Jian was the leader of this group of men. He looked to be around 24 or 25 years old with an average appearance. The other men were about 30, but they were thinner than Song Jian. Song Jian obviously followed Ma Wan's lead, and he kept calling Sister Ma as Sister Ma. It was obvious that Ma Wan trusted him. "Not bad. There are so many herbs here. Ma Wan patted Wang Zhong's shoulder. You're a smart kid. You seem to be familiar with the area. Qin and I have been wandering around here for a long time. Wang Zhong was honest. Yes, you were all students before the catastrophe, right? At this moment, the girl who was chewing gum walked over curiously. According to the introduction, this girl was called Yi Jingjing. She looked weird and had big eyes. She was dressed fashionably in this post-apocalyptic world. She wore jeans and a white shirt on her upper body. She glanced at Wang Zhong and asked, "Are you from Second Middle School?" Second Middle School was a nearby school. Everyone who lived here knew about it. Yes, I was a student. Wang Zhong nodded. Seeing the other party's happy expression, Wang Zhong asked, "Before little Qin and I escaped from Zhangjianxiang, we heard that they used the crystals in the brains of zombies to exchange for items. What's going on?" Ma Wan turned her head and said, "Do you have any crystals? If you do, you pay us a fee. I'll let you exchange them." To be honest, Wang Zhong was tempted. However, he had to leave something behind. So he nodded and said, "Yes, I have more than 30. Saying more than 30 was what Wang Zhong and Ni Shaoqin had discussed before. If he met other people, he would probably ask them if they had any crystals. In order not to arouse suspicion, he said more than 30. "You have a lot. What are their quality?" Yi Jingjing asked. "What quality?" Wang Zhong didn't know. Seeing Wang Zhong's confused face, Yi Jingjing was speechless. She said to Ni Shaoqin, "Don't tell me you don't even know the quality of crystals?" "Big sister." Before Ni Shaoqin could finish, Yi Jingjing said, "Who's the big sister?" Little sister." Ni Shaoqin embarrassedly stuck out her tongue. "Wang Yan and I have been hiding. We really don't know much about the outside world." "Okay, let's talk about this when we get back. Let's move the medicine back first." Ma Wan waved her hand to stop everyone from talking. "Wang Yan, let's move the things," Song Jian said. Wang Zhong nodded and started to move the medicine onto the tricycle. When everything was done, it was already 3 in the afternoon. Looking at the time, Ma Wan said, "Let's go back. Those monsters will come out when it's dark." The group went on their way. This time, Ma Wan found a bicycle on the side of the road and rode in front. When they passed by a storefront, Ma Wan suddenly stopped and turned her head to look at the storefront of a small restaurant beside her. What a strong smell of blood! Ma Wan frowned and said to Wang Zhong, "Have you been here before?" Because they had walked for a long time, Wang Zhong shook his head and said, "This is our first time here too." "Let's go." Ma Wan felt a sense of unease when she smelled the scent of blood. Suddenly, a strange sound came from beside everyone's ears. Song Jian's face changed. "It sounds like the rattlesnakes we encountered before." "Let's go." Yi Jingjing's face turned pale. She had always been afraid of snakes. The two people riding the tricycle shouted behind them, "Push, let's get out of here." But it was too late. Suddenly, a snake about the size of a human slowly crawled out of the restaurant. The snake didn't attack. Instead, it flicked its tongue at everyone. "This snake isn't the one we encountered before. It's a lot smaller." Ma Wan looked to be about 35 years old. At this time, she saw that something was wrong. The next moment, she took the initiative to walk toward the snake. "Sister Ma, will this work?" Yi Jingjing was very nervous. Wang Zhong raised his eyebrows. Was Ma Wan going to take the initiative to challenge the snake? He suddenly thought of something. Ma Wan could lead this group of people. What did it mean? She was very strong. She must have exchanged something good. Ma Wan said, "I'll go and fight it. It's a good opportunity to try out my new weapon." After saying that, a long whip appeared in Ma Wan's hand. Pa! The long whip was swung toward the snake. The big snake felt the hostility from Ma Wan. It swung its tail and collided with the long whip. But when the snake's tail touched the long whip, it seemed to be electrocuted and immediately retracted. Puff puff puff. The big snake suddenly shot out a black liquid from its mouth. It was poisonous at first glance. Stone shield. Ma Wan wasn't afraid of the black liquid. Instead, she shouted softly. A rectangular stone shield suddenly appeared in front of her and blocked all the black liquid. Pa pa pa. The long whip was swung again. It was whipped 5 times in a row. Every time it was whipped, the snake screamed and its momentum weakened a little. Wang Zhong noticed that the snake's body was smoking. It looked like it was about to be burnt. Finally, on the 6th whip, the snake screamed and fell to the ground powerlessly. Ha ha ha, Sister Ma is the best. Yi Jingjing jumped 3 feet high in excitement. Ma Wan smiled. This electric whip is really useful. This is the weapon you got at the exchange place? Wang Zhong asked. That's right. Yi Jingjing looked proud. Sister Ma, this snake is so big. The crystal in its body must be of high quality. Ma Wan nodded. After wiping off the black liquid on the stone shield, her stone shield and long whip disappeared. This scene caused Wang Zhong and Ni Shaoqin to be extremely shocked. Where did the weapon go? Ma Wan walked to the snake's corpse expectantly. She cut open the snake's head with a knife and retrieved a fist-sized crystal. This crystal is at least level 4. Ma Wan finally smiled. Let's go back. We'll definitely be able to exchange for something good. Yi Jingjing smiled. Let's go. The group went on their way again. Wang Zhong's heart was itching. He wanted to ask them what was going on, but looking at the situation, they were all immersed in the discussion about the level 4 crystal. He didn't want to ask. They finally arrived at Sir System Gang's territory. Ni Shaoqin. At the entrance, Yi Jingjing said to Ni Shaoqin, "Take your crystal and follow me later. I'll bring you to the crystal exchange place to exchange for something good." Finally, they were going to the mysterious exchange place. Wang Zhong walked over excitedly. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.